Start planting the divine tree from Douluo. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1 Soul Awakening. Chiandao Empire, Emperor Soul Village. Spirit Hall. A handsome young man in white clothes and a black cape, with sharp eyebrows and bright eyes, was helpless and frowning as he awakened the spirits of the teenagers in front of him. No spirit power. No spirit power. Huh. Su Yunteo looked at Fang Yuan in front of him with a surprised face. This was a very small kid, about 5 or 6 years old. Because of his young age, he looked very white and cute. The only difference was that under his black hair, a pair of scarlet eyes appeared at this moment. Eyes? Red eyes. This spirit seems to have never appeared before. Is it a mutant spirit? Su Yunteo looked at Fang Yuan, who was a little confused, with a different attitude in an instant. He showed a gentle smile, but the smile after the lone wolf spirit possessed him was really ugly. The other children beside him were even nervous because of this smile, and some even cried. Come on, little guy, try to control the martial soul with your mind and put it away first. Su Yunteo gently took out a blue crystal ball and handed it to Fang Yuan. Let's test the soul power. Okay. Fang Yuan blinked, and according to Su Yunteo's method, he controlled the scarlet eyes that appeared in his eyes and easily took them back into his body, as if using an arm to control a finger. At the same time, Fang Yuan also found that with the awakening of the martial soul, an inexplicable power also emerged in his body, circling in his body. With his hand placed on the crystal ball, Fang Yuan couldn't help but shiver, and the energy in his body was like water in a dam, finding a gate, surging out, and constantly rushing into the crystal ball. Brilliance burst out. This is. Su Yunteo's eyes widened immediately. After the kid in front of him awakened the special eye martial soul, he already had a guess in his mind. This kid's mutant martial spirit looks extraordinary, and his eyes seem to have some special charm, which is very attractive. Therefore, Su Yunteo has already estimated Fang Yuan's soul power in his heart. Conservatively, it is level 4 or 5, and it is even possible that he is a genius of level 6 or 7. But at this moment, the blue crystal in Fang Yuan's palm continued to shine, and in almost the blink of an eye, the crystal ball became like a bright sapphire, shining. Full innate soul power. Su Yunteo looked at the crystal ball shining with blue light with disapproval. He never thought that he could meet a person with full innate soul power in such a remote mountain village. As the main person, Fang Yuan was also excited. He had recovered from the strange feeling of martial spirit awakening. As a time traveler, since he came to this world 6 years ago, and knew that this world was the Douluo Continent he had seen in his previous life. Especially next to the village where he was born, there is a village called Sharingan village, and there is a little kid named Tangsun who is about the same age as him in the village. Excited, nervous, worried, and fearful. He quickly recovered from his initial maneuvers and became a little nervous. Will I awaken a rubbish martial spirit? Where will I go in the future? Damn it, System Master, where are you? Although he is a time traveler and does know some of the plot, he does not have any Tang sect secrets like Tang-san, and he does not have the old grandfather system to accompany him. In addition, as an orphan, if he had not been adopted by the village chief, he might have died long ago. All these factors overlapped. Not only did Fang Yuan's pride as a time traveler disappear completely, but he also had extreme panic and lack of confidence in the future. At this moment, Fang Yuan's heart finally settled down a little. Innate full soul power, plus this inexplicably familiar martial spirit. My future should be somewhat guaranteed. And Fang Yuan subconsciously clenched his left hand. Little brother, what's your name? Su Yunteo half knelt, looking at Fang Yuan with a smile on his face, and even changed his name. Fang Yuan, my name is Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan, what a good name. Su Yunteo smiled and even looked at Fang Yuan in a flattering way. Little brother Fang Yuan, you are a genius with innate full soul power that is rarely seen in 100 years. With your mutant martial soul, your future must be limitless. Are you willing to join the Spirit Hall? As long as you join our spirit hall and enter the spirit academy to study with your qualifications, you will definitely be able to get the greatest resource tilt of our spirit hall, and the monthly subsidy is the largest amount. Moreover, I can even take you directly. No, I can let our bishop personally take you to find and capture the most suitable soul beast for you and condense your first soul ring. After speaking, Su Yunteo looked at Fang Yuan with expectation. Fang Yuan's face was a little immature and confused, but he was thinking in his heart. He was an orphan, helpless, and if it weren't for the adoption of the old village chief, he would have died long ago. After finally recovering and getting familiar with this world, he also began to try to make some efforts. He begged the system god to appear, always went to the back mountain or the lake, hoping to find some peerless secret book, or the treasure of the top master. Even Fang Yuan was ready to build a good relationship with Tang San, in the name of being from the same village, to prepare for the future. But things did not go as he wished. Even though Fang Yuan thirsted for the system, the old man, and so on every day, his golden finger did not appear until today when his spirit awakened. There was nothing about the secret book of magic skills and the treasure of the strong. Once when he was wandering around the river, he slipped and almost fell into the river and drowned. And the same, perhaps because of Tang San's character, coupled with the living environment. Even though Fang Yuan wanted to build a good relationship with Tang San from the beginning, he even ran to the next village again and again to encounter Tang San. But the fact is that in the past few years, he has not even met Tang San a few times. Even if he did, he would just say hello and the two would never meet again. It can be said that almost all the things that Fang Yuan had hoped for in the past few years have not been successful, all failed. My relationship with Tang San is just average. Even if we can really go to Notting College together, can we definitely establish a bond in the future when we are students? And Tang San's character. That guy is not a little brat, but a guy with a black heart to death. His previous chance encounters may have aroused the boy's caution. If he finds out that he is approaching him with such a strong purpose, he may have to die. Moreover, judging from the current development, the supply of resources, and the future growth environment, I want to ask Grandpa or Fang Yuan looked at Su Yunteo and whispered, wherever Grandpa tells me to go, I will go. Su Yunteo was slightly stunned, and then overjoyed. Okay. Newcomer new book, newbie, please support. Chapter 2 Twin Martial Spirits. Zion, come and show Grandpa. Outside the spirit hall, or, who had been waiting early, hugged Fang Yuan with joy. Have you really become a spirit master? Not yet a spirit master. Fang Yuan scratched his head and smiled. No, little brother Fang Yuan is a rare innate full spirit power in 100 years. As long as he obtains a spirit ring, he will be a formal spirit master. Su Yunteo followed behind Fang Yuan and said with a smile, moreover, I hereby extend an invitation to little brother Fang Yuan. As long as little brother Fang Yuan enters our spirit hall, I will let the bishop of the Notting branch take little brother Fang Yuan to obtain the spirit ring in person. Okay. Or smiled. His old face was almost squeezed like a chrysanthemum, and he was extremely excited. Innate full spirit power. That's innate full spirit power. After so many years, our Emperor Soul Village finally has another spirit master, and it's a spirit master with innate full spirit power. You should know that the Emperor Soul Village has been competing with the Holy Soul Village next door for a long time. Originally, the Emperor Soul Village had a Soul Emperor, which made the Emperor Soul Village very arrogant for a while. Who would have thought that the Holy Soul Village next door would produce a Soul Saint not long after, and it took off directly. It even changed its name to Holy Soul Village, blatantly suppressing the Emperor Soul Village. Although the people in the Emperor Soul Village were troubled, their own Soul Emperor was really no match for the other party's Soul Saint. In desperation, they could only shrink their heads and endure. And now, their Emperor Soul Village finally has another Soul Master, and it is his grandson, whose qualifications are even full of innate soul power. Finally, they are going to be proud. Village Chief Aoa, I don't know if brother Fang Yuan. Everything is arranged by the Battle Soul Master. Aoa smiled happily, and Su Yunteo couldn't help but smile when he heard such words. Great. As long as brother Fang Yuan joins our spirit hall, with his qualifications, his future will be limitless. He can become a Soul Saint Soul Douluo, or even a legendary titled Douluo. Titled Douluo? Exclamation mark. Fang Yuan could clearly feel that Ao's breathing became slightly heavier, and his expression was excited. First, everything is arranged by the Battle Soul Master. I'll listen to Grandpa. Ha 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 ha. Okay. Su Yunteo laughed and rubbed Fang Yuan's hair. In this case, Brother Fang Yuan, do you want to go back to the spirit hall directly with me, or this? Fang Yuan looked at Aoa. His attitude was self-evident. It's okay. It's okay. After all, we are going to say goodbye to our hometown. It's normal to feel a little reluctant. Su Yunteo waved his hand and said with a smile, well, I will go back to the branch hall to report first. I think it won't be long before the bishop will come in person and take you to get your first spirit ring. Then, we will take you to the spirit academy and study hard. How about that? Okay. That's right. As if thinking of something, Su Yunteo smiled and took out a spirit hall token and a purse from his arms and stuffed them into Fang Yuan's hands. This is my savings over the years. Don't refuse it. When you arrive at the Spirit Academy, you will need it in many places. It's also a small token from me. Without waiting for Fang Yuan and Or to say anything, Su Yunteo had already jumped a few times and turned away. Grandpa, this? Or looked at the token and money bag in Fang Yuan's palm with emotion and shook his head. Just accept it. For a remote place like Ardahan village, Master Zenon can come every year and never abandon us. This is already a gift. Now he has also taken into account the economic situation of Ardahan village. Master Zenon is really a good person. Yeah. Or took Fang Yuan back to the village. He was in a good mood along the way. If Fang Yuan hadn't been a little restrained, Or would even beat gongs and drums in the village and the whole village would celebrate. But even so, Or still showed Fang Yuan to everyone he saw, with a smile on his face and full of pride. How do you know that my little grandson Fang Yuan has soul power and has been specially recruited by the spirit hall? The show-off made Fang Yuan helpless. When Fang Yuan returned home, the sky had become gloomy. After eating a little meal, Fang Yuan quickly locked himself in the house and checked his spirit. He looked at the mirror on the table, his eyes slightly closed, and the next moment, a pair of scarlet single Magatama Sharingan appeared in his eye sockets, gurgling and turning. It's the Sharingan. As a time traveler, Fang Yuan is naturally very familiar with the Sharingan, a famous plugin in a certain manga in his previous life. As the core of the little black Zetsu looking for his mother, the 5-village fight, and the legend of the eyes, the power of the Sharingan is beyond doubt. The Sharingan is the core bloodline of the Uchiha clan. Under normal circumstances, people who awaken the Sharingan usually have a single Magatama Sharingan. However, the single Magatama Sharingan is only the initial stage of the Sharingan. After that, there are double Magatama, 3 Magatama, Manjaki, Eternal Eye, and even the legendary Sage's Eye that controls life and death, the Samsara Eye. Fang Yuan could clearly feel that, although his martial soul had awakened, it was still in an extremely young stage. He did not even show the insight that the most basic single Magatama Sharingan should have. His vision had only increased, and he could see things a little more clearly. Could it be that the reason why I did not awaken the inside power of the single Magatama Sharingan is because I did not obtain the spirit ring? It is very likely. In the original work, Tangsen was unable to break through the second level of his Zuanshan Gong because he did not obtain the spirit ring. So it is very likely that his Sharingan could not exert its power because of this reason. Fang Yuan had some guesses in his mind. After thinking for a moment, he closed his eyes and took the Sharingan into his body. His eyes turned back to normal black. But he did not rest or start practicing, but raised his left hand. The spirit power in his body started to circulate again, and a emerald green color, containing an extremely rich breath of life, suddenly spread out. The next second, an emerald green bud appeared out of thin air, swaying in the palm of Fang Yuan's left hand. The buds on the branches were extremely small, and they looked very ordinary, just like the buds of newly born trees, very tender and fragile. But the breath of life that came to one's face made one feel like being bathed in the spring breeze, relaxed and happy. This is trees. Fang Yuan's eyes suddenly widened, his eyes full of astonishment. If it was just a simple tree, he would not be so surprised, but don't forget his first martial soul. Sharingan. The condition for the appearance of twin martial souls is two martial souls of almost the same quality. In the original work, Sankey is the owner of twin martial souls. His two martial souls are the Emperor of Blue Silver Grass, Blue Silver Emperor, and the world's #1 weapon martial soul, Clear Sky Hammer. Only in this way can the situation of two martial souls in one body appear. And the tree martial soul that can appear on the body at the same time as the Sharingan and can be compared with the Sharingan. It should be the only one. The power of wood escape. Chapter 3, A Visitor from Spirit Hall. The existence of wood release is undoubtedly a pleasant surprise for Fang Yuan. Although the power of Sharingan is strong, it is basically incomparable with wood release before breaking through to the ultimate Samsara. Not to mention, Fang Yuan only has a single Megatama now. For a moment, Fang Yuan even wanted to switch to wood release directly. No, steady. Fang Yuan shook his head and threw those unrealistic pictures of the future out of his mind. He has already exposed the Sharingan. If he switches to wood release, wouldn't it be directly exposing the secret that he has twin martial spirits? The way this world treats geniuses is not so friendly. Even if he joins the Spirit Hall, he is just a civilian after all. Although the Spirit Hall has a good attitude towards civilians, as the saying goes, a man is innocent, but guilty of possessing a treasure. He is an ordinary civilian, but he has a decisive posture of twin martial spirits, which will inevitably cause some guys to feel unbalanced. At that time, all kinds of troubles will surely follow. Besides, although wood release is famous, it is not necessarily invincible. You should know that the reason why wood release is so famous is purely because it was created by the first generation Hokage, the god of ninja, Senju Hashirama. Otherwise, look at Yamato. As the owner of wood release, Yamato may not even reach the level of one card in actual combat power except for being the best in the world in greening. What if the wood release it awakens is the Yamato version instead of the first generation version? Then it will be directly sent. Therefore, to be on the safe side, Fang Yuan still practiced the Sharingan first, and after filling up the spirit ring of the Sharingan, he would switch to wood release. In this way, the spirit ring of Fang Yuan's wood release martial spirit would be at least 10,000 years. By then, with the blessing of 10,000 years, or even 100,000 years spirit rings, the wood release at that time would be the real wood release. Then add the power of the Sharingan. When Fang Yuan thought of his future of driving a Gundam and riding a Buddha, he was excited, and it took him a while to suppress it. But even so, Fang Yuan was still very excited and didn't sleep well all night. When the rooster crowed and the morning light was dim, Fang Yuan was awakened by the knocks on the door. Zhao Yuan, the battle soul master and the bishop are here. Come out. Fang Yuan heard the call and hurriedly got up and opened the door. The shabby house was now crowded with people. In addition to the village chief Grandpa Aoa and Su Yunteo, there was also a mature woman in her 30s wearing a luxurious robe and several guards. The woman had a face like autumn water and charm. Even in a robe, people could feel her exquisite and graceful figure. However, although this woman looked mature and beautiful, the aura she exuded was stronger than Su Yunteo. I think she should be the bishop Su Yunteo mentioned. Fang Yuan glanced over and knew what was going on. He knew that he, who was born with full soul power, would definitely be valued by the Wuhan Hall, but he never thought it would come so soon. He originally wanted to go to the next village to see the situation of Tang San. After all, if he joined the Spirit Hall, he would have to fight against Tang San. Although he had just awakened his spirit, he was no threat to Tang San at all. But Fang Yuan still wanted to take a look to make himself feel more confident. But it was good. If he got the spirit ring earlier, he could study the Sharingan earlier. When the beautiful bishop saw Fang Yuan coming out, she immediately looked him up and down. The more she looked, the brighter her eyes became. From the breath of the spirit power, it is indeed a good innate full spirit power. Little guy, release your spirit and let me see it. This. Fang Yuan hesitated, and his eyes fell on Su Yunteo and Aoa. Don't be so reserved, little brother Fang Yuan. This is the bishop of our Notting City Spirit Hall branch, Lady Zia. She is a 53 level spirit king. As soon as these words came out, the people around him all showed respect. 53 level, this is a top level powerhouse. I see. Sorry for the insolence, bishop. Fang Yuan scratched his head and smiled. He closed his eyes and opened them again. A pair of scarlet Sharingan appeared in his eye sockets. The special eyes made Zia slightly stunned. After a careful look, Zia showed a look of joy and satisfaction. It is indeed a special martial spirit that has never been seen before. Coupled with the innate full soul power, the little guy's future is limitless. With the approval of the bishop, who is a soul king, Or's mouth was almost laughing to the back of his head. Fang Yuan also showed a simple smile and scratched his head. Without further delay, I will take you to the Xingdao Great Forest later to hunt soul beasts and obtain the first soul ring. By the way, this is for you. Zia took out a book from the storage soul guide she carried with her and handed it to Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan took it and showed curiosity. This is a basic meditation method, a method used to temper, practice, and improve soul power. You have full innate soul power and have reached the upper limit of the level, but it doesn't matter. After you absorb the first soul ring, you can practice according to the above method. Hearing this, Fang Yuan was overjoyed. Thank you, Sister Zia. He was extremely excited about the awakening of his martial soul last night and did not sleep well the whole night. He wanted to practice, but he was like a headless fly and had no idea where to start. Now that he has a special practice method, Fang Yuan is naturally happy. The call of Sister Zia scared Su Yunteo and the guards behind him, but Zia did not feel rude, but smiled and applauded. Fang Yuan, who has full innate soul power, will definitely be a soul Douluo or even a titled Douluo, as long as he can grow up smoothly. Although she is the bishop of the branch hall of the spirit hall, she is only a soul king of more than 50 levels, and she is already in her 30s. This is the achievement of her life. Now, she was called sister by a person who would become a soul Douluo or even a titled Douluo in the future. Zia was actually very happy. You are so sweet, little guy. Let's go now without further delay. Everything is up to Sister Zia. Fang Yuan's respectful attitude made Zia happy, and she even took Fang Yuan to her carriage. Su Yunteo was also very sensible. After bowing to Or, he took the initiative to set up the carriage and started to rush towards the Xingdao Great Forest. The bishop's carriage was very different. Sitting on it, Fang Yuan could not even feel much bumps. After chatting with Zia for a few words, Fang Yuan began to look through the meditation practice method and even began to practice it experimentally according to the description above. Fang Yuan's serious attitude towards practice made Zia more and more satisfied. With such talent, he can be so hardworking. As long as such a genius can grow up smoothly, he will definitely have a place among the top masters of the continent in the future. When we get to the Wuhan Academy, we must have a good talk with the teachers and ask them to teach us well. Zia thought to herself. Looking at Fang Yuan, who was in the state of cultivation, Zia nodded with a smile, waved her hand, and used her soul power to isolate Fang Yuan from the noise from the outside world so that Fang Yuan could cultivate more at ease. Chapter 4. Future Vision. First entering the Star Forest. The Emperor Soul Village is not far from the Star Forest. With Su Yunteo, the Great Soul Master, driving, the journey was smooth. Soon, everyone arrived at the outskirts of the Star Forest. Little guy, we are here. Zia's gentle call made Fang Yuan come out of his cultivation state. The soul power fluctuated, and his eyes even became bright and shining under the influence of the soul power. The feeling of cultivation was extremely comfortable, as if the whole person was soaked in warm hot spring water, and he didn't feel tired at all. No wonder those people in the novels of the previous life like to use meditation to replace sleep. The two got off the carriage, and after Su Yunteo went to register, the three of them walked towards the Star Forest together. The Star Forest is one of the three most famous soul beast gathering places in the Douluo Continent. Its area is almost equal to the land area of the Berek Kingdom. The entire Star Forest spans the borders of the Sharingan Empire and the Xingluo Empire. 2/5 of it are in the Sharingan Empire, and the other 3/5 are in the Xingluo Empire, so it is named Xingdao. The environment in the Stardao Great Forest is extremely complex. It is not only a primeval forest, but also has special environments such as wetlands and swamps. The creatures and soul beasts in it are also extremely powerful, especially in the deep areas of the Stardao Great Forest, where almost all soul beasts are 10,000 years old, and there are even many legendary soul beasts of 100,000 years old. However, Fang Yuan only wants to obtain the first soul ring, so he naturally does not need to go too deep. He only needs to find a suitable soul beast in the outer area of the Douluo Great Forest. Little guy, have you thought about your first soul ring and what soul beast you want? Zia asked. Fang Yuan shook his head. He knew nothing about soul beasts. He only knew a little about the few well-known ones in the original book, such as the mandrake snake and the human-faced demon spider. As for the others, how could he know? Sister Zia, what kind of soul beast do you think I should choose as my first soul ring? Good question. Zia chuckled. When we choose soul rings, we need to pay attention to 2 points. One is the characteristics of the martial soul, and the other is the future development direction. Although I have never seen your martial soul, most of our martial souls are external, but your martial soul is your eyes, just like you yourself. In this case, we might as well start from the perspective of eyes. Fang Yuan nodded secretly. In the first battle, there was no concept of the main body martial soul. The bishop in front of him could think of this, obviously not a good for nothing, of ours. Eyes are an indispensable part of our human body. Their greatest feature is that they bring us light and help us see the world. Your martial spirit is not like ordinary weapon martial spirits or beast martial spirits. It seems to have no offensiveness and weak defense, but the moment I saw your eyes, I felt a sense of trance. Mind control, illusion. Your eyes have such potential. So, I suggest you take the path of strengthening your mental power. In this way, whether you become a control type combat spirit master or an insight type auxiliary spirit master in the future, it is a good choice. Zia talked to Fang Yuan and expressed her views. Fang Yuan listened carefully and nodded to Zia's views. Sharingan is the blood limit of the Uchiha clan. It can open its eyes and evolve continuously through strong emotional stimulation. Its ability depends on the number of Magatama. Mental power must be the most indispensable for Sharingan. Okay, then I'll listen to Sister Zia. Fang Yuan nodded. However, soul beasts that increase spiritual power. Although soul beasts that mainly rely on spiritual power are rare, there are abundant species in the Douluo Great Forest, so there must be some. We can slowly look for them, no need to be impatient. Thank you, Sister Zia. Such a polite child made Zia like him more and more, and at the same time, she was thinking in her mind what kind of spiritual soul beast she should find for Fang Yuan. In her cognition, there are not many soul beasts with strong spiritual power and good at spiritual attacks, and those soul beasts are either extremely powerful 1000-year or 10,000-year soul beasts, or 10 or dozens of years of garbage. Thousands of years are naturally out of the question, and letting a little guy with full innate soul power, and whom she likes very much absorb a white soul ring for 10 or dozens of years is even more nonsense. So the choice of this soul beast is a bit troublesome. However, just because Fang Yuan called her sister, Zia decided to help Fang Yuan and do her best. The three of them slowly searched in the Douluo Great Forest and found many soul beasts during the period, but none of them were suitable for Fang Yuan. The only decent kinks in purple bamboo was unfortunately only over 100 years old, so Fang Yuan gave it up in the end. The Xiaoyu Zia gang believed that the soul ring limit of the first soul ring was 423 years. Although this view was undoubtedly nonsense in Fang Yuan's view, if there was really such a thing as a soul ring limit, then how could Sinjie have a fourth ring of 10,000 years? In Fang Yuan's view, as long as one had a strong enough body, the first soul ring would not be a problem at all, not to mention 400 or 500 years, even 1,000 or 10,000 years. Fang Yuan had been exercising since he was a child, and in order to obtain various magical skills, he often went to various places on weekdays. Although this body was not as good as Sinjie's Gong, which he had practiced since he was a child, it was still at the level of a normal person. Now with the help of Archbishop Zia, Fang Yuan naturally hoped to find a suitable year for the first soul ring. Alas, spiritual beasts are rare. It's been half a day, but I haven't found any. Fang Yuan was a little depressed. Fortunately, both Zia and Su Yuntao were very patient and continued to search with Fang Yuan, which touched Fang Yuan. A bishop like Zia must be very busy, and Su Yuntao, as the war soul master responsible for awakening martial souls in the nearby villages, is also the same. It is said that after dealing with the Emperor Soul Village, according to the process, Brother Tao will go to the Holy Soul Village where Sinjie is. Now it seems that we can only let our Sinja wait. Wait. Where is Brother Tao? Exclamation mark. Fang Yuan was stunned. He found that Su Yuntao, who had been following him and Ziya, suddenly disappeared. Sister Ziya, this. No hurry. When Ziya found that Su Yuntao disappeared, her face changed slightly, but soon she felt Su Yuntao's breath. To the east, about 500 meters away, the two looked at each other and hurried to the east. Su Yuntao's aura is very chaotic. He should be in a fighting state. If a battle occurs later, you must follow me closely and don't leave my side. Ziya said in a deep voice. I know, Sister Ziya. Fang Yuan nodded obediently. He is basically a powerless kid now. If he really encounters something, he can only rely on Ziya. Not long after, the two came to the east and found Su Yuntao. There was no sign of fighting around, and Su Yuntao was not injured. He looked safe and sound, but his aura was very wrong. Brother Tao? Fang Yuan called softly, but Su Yuntao seemed to have never heard of it and continued to walk towards the bushes. The whole person seemed to have lost his soul. Fang Yuan wanted to go up and call him, but before he could make any move, he suddenly felt that he smelled a fragrance, and then the whole person began to walk towards the bushes uncontrollably. Fang Yuan took a step, and in a trance, his body trembled violently, and a wave of soul power caused waves on his body. When he raised his head again, his eyes were already bloodshot, and the single Megatama Sharingan kept spinning in his eyes. Stimulated, the spirit protected the master. Sister Ziya, be careful, it's an illusion. Chapter 5 Accidental Absorption. Fang Yuan's eyes widened, his Sharingan with a single Megatama whirred around as he looked into the bushes. Indistinctly, Fang Yuan seemed to see a pure white furry creature flash by. Sister Ziya, over there. Fang Yuan pointed in the direction of the pure white creature. Ziya showed a serious look, and her martial spirit had quietly possessed her. The aura of the Soul King permeated. Ziya's eyes turned into vertical pupils, and some red scales covered her body, as if there was a flame entwined and boiling in it. At the same time, 5 more soul rings of yellow, purple, and black appeared on her body. Beast martial spirit, flame snake. First soul skill, fiery ray. Ziya acted decisively, and with a light shout, a line of fire shot out from her mouth and landed on the bushes. The line of fire surged, setting the bushes on fire, and also illuminated the area. This time, Fang Yuan saw it clearly. It was a pure white fox, with silver eyes standing upright. It looked like a white fox in the snow. The only difference was that the tail of this fox seemed a little short. It's a silver moon fox. Ziya looked at the silver moon fox and said in a deep voice, this soul beast is not very aggressive, but it is very good at charm. It often charms and controls the enemy in the wild, traps them in its own traps, and then devours them. Fox soul beasts add a tail every 1,000 years. The tail of this silver moon fox is only half the length of an ordinary one. It is about 450 years old. Sister Ziya, this is it. Fang Yuan took the unconscious Su Yuntao aside and shouted to Ziya loudly. Ziya frowned slightly. The limit of the first soul ring is 423 years. The silver moon fox in front of her is obviously beyond the limit. If it is used for soul ring absorption. Want to run? The blazing fire burned the silver moon fox, and it subconsciously struggled, trying to escape. Ziya snorted. Regardless of whether Fang Yuan could absorb this spirit ring, since this silver moon fox had set its sights on them, it would naturally have to pay a price. Ziya jumped up, and a thin orange-red flame ray sprayed out in the direction of the silver moon fox. The hot temperature twisted the air. The orange-red flame was not violent, but it was like a line of fire, burning and closing all the roots around the silver moon fox. Ouch. The fire cut off the road, and the silver moon fox had nowhere to escape, so it could only choose to fight. But it was not a spirit beast that was good at fighting, and it was facing Ziya, who was more than 50 levels. After a few blows, most of the beautiful pure white fur of the silver moon fox was burned, and its breath became extremely weak, on the verge of death. Ziya looked at the silver moon fox with a weak breath on the ground, and reminded Fang Yuan in a deep voice, the maximum limit of the first soul ring of ordinary people is 423 years. The age of this silver moon fox is at least 450 years, which has exceeded the limit by decades. Are you really going to absorb this Silver Moon Fox? This? Fang Yuan hesitated a little. To be honest, although he did not approve of the research of the master, he had to admit that what the master studied was indeed a reasonable indicator for ordinary people. And he is indeed just an ordinary person. The soul ring limit of 423 years may really be the limit for him. If he forcibly absorbs a soul ring that exceeds this limit, will he explode and die? Fang Yuan looked at the Silver Moon Fox on the ground, his Sharingan turned, and his heart was full of entanglement. Just as Fang Yuan hesitated, the almost dying Silver Moon Fox suddenly raised its head, and a pair of silver vertical pupils looked at Fang Yuan with hatred, just looking at Fang Yuan's scarlet Sharingan. When their eyes met, Fang Yuan's heart jumped, and he felt a sharp pain in his head. He subconsciously hugged his head. Ah! Fang Yuan. Under Ziya's astonished eyes, Fang Yuan suddenly cried out in pain, and the dying Silver Moon Fox's life suddenly dissipated. A circle of yellow soul rings emerged from its body and floated towards Fang Yuan's body. Fang Yuan, who was holding his head, felt a splitting headache, and an unprecedented huge pressure came from all directions, making him breathless. The yellow soul ring came to the top of Fang Yuan's head, and then went straight into Fang Yuan's brain. Fang Yuan felt that there was a raging fire in his mind, as if magma was burning. A hot energy rushed into his body frantically, starting from the top of his head, extending all the way down, and pouring into his limbs. Keep your mind steady and focus on your martial spirit. Although it is unknown how Fang Yuan completed the finishing blow, but Ziya knew that Fang Yuan was absorbing the spirit ring at this moment. At such a critical moment, no mistakes could be made. No matter how the power of the spirit ring impacts, you must stay awake. Ziya said hurriedly, only in this way can you make better use of the power of this spirit ring in the future. Fang Yuan frowned. At this moment, he seemed to be in a sea of burning fire, struggling in the flames. The severe pain kept coming, but not long after, Fang Yuan felt his whole body loosen up, his eyes lit up, and the whole person came to a grey world. This world is extremely grey and dim. Fang Yuan's small body in this space is like sand in an endless desert, insignificant. Suddenly, a faint silver moon light flashed in this space, turning into the appearance of a Silver Moon Fox, grinning at Fang Yuan with a ferocious look. Damn, there is such a process? Fang Yuan was a little panicked. Even Su Yuntao, who was more than level 20, was played around by the Silver Moon Fox. How could he be this guy's opponent? The Silver Moon Fox had a hideous face and a face full of hatred. Fang Yuan was trembling in his heart. He watched the Silver Moon Fox leap up and pounce on him. The sharp claws seemed to tear him apart and devour him. However, just when it was about to pounce on Fang Yuan, a beam of red light cut through the dark sky and splashed down. The Silver Moon Fox was enveloped by the red light and immediately let out a wail. The whole body was like the darkness at dawn, dissipating without a trace. Fang Yuan raised his head in astonishment. I saw that above the originally dim world, a scarlet full moon was hanging high in the sky at some point. 2 black jades were hanging on the full moon. Little guy. Outside, Ziya's call brought Fang Yuan back to his senses. He opened his eyes, and a circle of yellow soul rings moved around his body. At the same time, in those blood-red eyes, 2 Magatama formed a pincer attack, opposing each other. Chapter 6. First Soul Skill, Mental Shock. How do you feel now? The limit of the first soul ring is 423 years, but now Fang Yuan has broken this record and absorbed a soul ring that is at least 450 years old. Such a situation makes Ziya a little worried. Sister Ziya, I'm fine, and I feel better than ever. Fang Yuan took a deep breath, carefully felt the changes in his body, and said with a smile, moreover, my soul power has increased by 2 levels, and now I'm already level 12. After practicing for 2 months at the Sankey card level, he absorbed a mandragora snake that was more than 400 years old, and then broke through 3 levels. After his martial soul awakened, he directly absorbed it, and also increased by 2 levels. Fang Yuan was still very satisfied with this. It's good that you're fine. It's good that you're fine. Ziya breathed a sigh of relief. A genius with full innate soul power, as long as he can grow up smoothly, must be a soul Douluo or a titled Douluo, so in her opinion, it doesn't matter if the soul power is a little higher or lower, as long as the person is fine. By the way, what is your first soul skill? Zia looked at Fang Yuan with some expectation. My first soul skill is called mental shock. Fang Yuan smiled. He was very satisfied with his first soul skill. Mental shock. Zia was a little surprised. Spiritual beasts are already extremely rare, and spiritual skills are even rarer. I didn't expect that after Fang Yuan absorbed the Silver Moon Fox, he directly obtained its most powerful innate skill. Yes, it's mental shock. Fang Yuan nodded and explained, my first soul skill is to use mental power to shock the target, so that the target falls into a state of mental damage. Moreover, when the target is in a state of mental damage, I can still control the target's behavior to a certain extent, just like Brother Tao's situation just now. Fang Yuan looked around and looked at Su Yanteo, who was still in a coma and was helped under the tree by him, and smiled. His eyes opened and closed, and the double Magatama Sharingan was already opened. Looking at the pair of bright red pupils, Zia felt a little dazed. With the movement of his mind, the yellow soul ring fell on the bottom of Fang Yuan's feet, bursting with brilliance. First soul skill, mental shock. Zia only saw the Sharingan in Fang Yuan's eyes constantly rotating, and an invisible force permeated out. Su Yanteo, who had fallen to the ground and was unconscious, actually stood up slowly and staggered towards her. What a skill. Even a great soul master of more than 20 levels can be controlled. Zia was amazed. As a soul king, she saw the power of this soul skill at first sight. Let's not talk about mental control. The power of mental shock alone is already very good. The skill is instant, silent, and unpredictable. Once it hits, it is a huge threat. Even if it can't kill instantly, it will definitely make the target appear dazed, stiff and unconscious. If it is under normal circumstances, it is okay, but what if it is in a battle and you get hit like this? In Zia's mind, various methods of using mental shock suddenly emerged. Fang Yuan is only level 12, but he can control Su Yanteo of more than 20 levels. What if Fang Yuan grows up completely? You know, the spirit power of a soul master is not strong. Many people only focus on cultivating their physical body and spirit power when they practice, and often ignore the spirit power. Apart from other things, just talking about the spirit power, she is a soul king of more than 50 levels, which is not much higher than Su Yanteo. In other words, Fang Yuan's move can even affect her. You know, this is only the first spirit ring. Zia sucked in cold air. She even thought of the scene in the future, when Fang Yuan killed people everywhere, and became famous all over the world. Looking at the shocked Zia, Fang Yuan's face was full of smiles. In fact, he didn't say it all. His first soul skill is not just as simple as turning mental power into shockwaves. Mental shock should be regarded as the active skill of his first soul skill, and in addition to this, he has a passive skill. Mental power increased by 30%. The Sharingan originally relies on pupil power, or the power driven by mental power. For Fang Yuan, the improvement of mental power has undoubtedly greatly improved the power of the Sharingan. Moreover, this absorption of the spirit ring, by chance, made Fang Yuan's Sharingan break through and reach the level of 2 Magatama. The 2 Magatama Sharingan is the evolution of the single Magatama Sharingan. It not only has the insight of the single Magatama Sharingan, but also has the power called copy. Yes, just as Fang Yuan guessed, after becoming a martial spirit, the Sharingan has formed an inexplicable fit with this world. Before, he was like holding a treasure chest, but without the key. And at this moment, after Fang Yuan obtained the spirit ring, the power hidden in the Sharingan was finally unsealed at that moment. In addition to the spirit skills brought by the first spirit ring, the 2 powers of insight and copy that belonged to the Sharingan were also mastered by Fang Yuan. Zia looked at Fang Yuan, who was full of joy, and felt happy for him in her heart. Glancing at Su Yanteo, who was beside him, he finally woke up from his coma. Since the spirit ring has been absorbed, we should go back. Okay, I'm really sorry to bother Sister Zia today. Fang Yuan thanked her sincerely. The spirit hall has always taken helping civilians as its mission. Besides, since you have agreed to join our spirit academy, you will be a member of our spirit hall in the future. As the bishop of the spirit hall, it is my duty to help you. Zia smiled. Although she said it was her duty, Fang Yuan knew that Zia really wanted to help him, or that the spirit hall really valued civilian geniuses like them. Otherwise, she could just find a guard or let Su Yunteo take him to get the spirit ring. Why did she have to go in person? What happened? Su Yunteo woke up faintly and looked at the two people who were talking happily with a confused face. It's okay. It's okay. I've got the spirit ring. We should go back, Brother Tao. Ah. Have you got the spirit ring? Su Yunteo was a little confused. His consciousness was still stuck in the search for the spirit beast. The mental impact of the silver moon fox not only confused and controlled him, but also damaged and disappeared the memories of the time when he was confused and controlled. Ahem. This is a bit like the skills in some neon love action art films. Su Yunteo shook his head and felt a little groggy, but he still stood up and prepared to follow Fang Yuan and Zia. But the moment he stood up, an extremely strong smell of blood hit him in the face. The next moment, a sharp howl filled with extreme pain sounded in the jungle, and then a blood shadow swooped over and landed on Su Yunteo. Chapter 7 Evil Soul Master. The sudden change made Fang Yuan and Zia extremely stunned. The speed of the bloodlight was so fast that even Zia, who was at the Soul King level, did not notice it in time. Fang Yuan, who had opened his double megathema, only saw a blood red light. By the time the two reacted, it seemed a little too late. The blood-colored light and shadow revealed its figure. From the appearance, it seemed to be a tiger-like soul beast. The huge body was 3 or 4 meters long, and there was no hair on the blood-red body. Instead, there were layers of broken scales and protruding blood and flesh tumors. The sharp fangs and claws tore open Su Yunteo's throat. The monster licked greedily and absorbed it, spraying blood from the throat. The strong claws pressed Su Yunteo's body tightly to prevent him from struggling and affecting his eating. The sudden tragic scene made Fang Yuan's face turn a little pale. He could even smell the rusty smell of Su Yunteo's blood. It has been 6 years since Fang Yuan came to this world. Although Fang Yuan boasted that he had already prepared for this extraordinary world, he still felt terrified when the scene of life and death appeared in front of him. His pupils contracted and his calves trembled. The bloody scene was imprinted in his eyes, and the smell of blood and flesh that kept tempting his nose made his stomach churn. Tao, Brother Tao. Recalling the kindness Su Yunteo showed to him when he awakened his martial soul, Fang Yuan was stunned for a moment when he looked at the remains of the corpse that was constantly being eaten by the blood tiger on the ground. I didn't expect that the bishop of the Wuhan Hall would personally lead a team to hunt soul beasts. A hoarse voice echoed, and an old man in a black robe walked out of the jungle. He was not tall, and even a little hunched. His old face was full of wrinkles, his eyes were dim, and his hair was grey, but his body was unexpectedly strong. In his hand, he held a bone cane, which looked like a crutch to support him walking, or like a training stick in the hands of an animal trainer. The old man walked slowly to the side of the monster, and gently knocked the bone cane on the ground. The horrible monster looked at Su Yunteo, who had been eaten by him and was bloody, with some reluctance, and then lay on the ground obediently. You are. Zia pulled Fang Yuan behind her with a serious face, looking at the fishy smell all over his body and the twisted and mutated body covered by the black robe, and she already knew the identity of the visitor. Evil Soul Master. The so-called Evil Soul Master is a soul master who uses some evil techniques and evil means to practice. These soul masters devour soul power, soul rings, mental power, flesh and blood, soul, martial soul, etc. to assist themselves in their practice, so as to maximize their level. Unlike the righteous soul masters who are admired by thousands of people, evil soul masters are hated by the world. Whether it is the Tsingtao Empire, the Xiandao Empire, or the Wuhan Hall, they all despise evil soul masters, and will capture and kill them. Zia never thought that there would be an evil soul master hidden in the outer area of the Tsingtao Great Forest. Moreover, it seems that his soul power is not weak. Fang Yuan, you are ready to escape at any time, and go for help. I will stop him. Zia's beautiful eyes condensed, and her martial spirit was possessed, and her face was full of determination. Interesting. Judging from his physique, this kid should have just awakened his martial spirit. The old man glanced at Zia. A soul king of more than 50 levels did not seem to attract his attention. Instead, his eyes fell on Fang Yuan, 10th level soul power. At this age, he has such soul power. His innate soul power is at least 8 or 9 levels. No wonder the Bishop of the Spirit Hall personally hunted soul beasts for him to obtain soul rings. Wait. As if he saw something, the black-robed old man's dim eyes suddenly shone brightly, staring at Fang Yuan's immature face. Or rather, at the scarlet double Magatama Sharingan. It's actually the body martial spirit? Fang Yuan was shocked. The concept of the body martial spirit should only appear in Dao Second. How could this evil soul master know the existence of the body martial spirit? But the next moment, Fang Yuan understood. The black-robed evil soul master stared at Fang Yuan, and even stretched out his right hand hidden under the black robe because of excitement. Rather than saying it was a hand, it would be more appropriate to describe it as a claw. The right claw was dark and strong, with fine scales all over it, and the sharp hooked toe was like a sharp blade, enough to tear everything apart easily. You have to know that the evil soul master in front of him has not yet been possessed by a martial soul. That is to say, this hand is not a change brought about by a martial soul. But the martial soul of the I-type is really a treasure. Really a treasure. It seems that God feels pity for me, emotion, and sees that I have been trapped in the mirror of the Soul King for too long, and wants me to break through. Emotion laughed. Bloodthirsty skeleton. Possessed. Yellow, yellow, purple, purple, black. 5 soul rings with the best ratio emerged, which were not weaker than Zia at all, and even stronger than Zia's terrifying power, which made Zia look solemn. Emotion's old and ugly face was full of smiles, and even became a little distorted, like a demon. The 3rd soul ring on his body burst into light, condensing into several blood-colored skulls, shooting towards Fang Yuan and Zia. The blood-red skull was not fast, but wherever it passed, it was like a locust passing through. All the green plants and trees turned yellow, and even with it, the vitality in them was obviously swallowed up by the blood-red skull. 3rd soul skill, fiery streamer. Zia shouted delicately, and streams of flames and streamers shot out of her mouth, trying to stop the blood-red skulls. The two forces collided, and a huge explosion suddenly broke out, and thick smoke billowed. You are worthy of being the Bishop of the Spirit Hall. You are only level 53, but you have such strength. In the billowing smoke, a blood-red shadow flashed by, and the hideous beast claws attacked Zia. Zia had no time to react, and could only cross her hands in front of her chest, but the whole person was still knocked away by Emotion's punch. Although Emotion was old, with the blessing of the beast claws, and his own level 59 soul power, both strength and soul power were far better than Zia. After just a few exchanges, Emotion beat Zia, and made her retreat in embarrassment, dodging constantly. This won't work. The combat power of the evil soul master is far superior to that of ordinary soul masters. However, after just one fight, Zia knew that she was no match for him. At most, she could only hold him back. It was impossible to defeat him. Fang Yuan, what are you still standing there for? Go and call for support. Want to run? I can't let you slip away from my martial soul that has come to my door. Emotion sneered, and the black 10,000-year soul ring on his body shone. A blood claw condensed out of thin air and grabbed Fang Yuan directly. Zia gritted her teeth and shouted angrily, and the only black 10,000-year soul ring on her body lit up. 5th soul skill, Spirit Snake Fire Dance. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 8, Pursuit. Blood claws attacked, trying to capture Fang Yuan. At the critical moment, Zia opened fire, and released her only 10,000-year soul skill. The red flame snake floated behind Zia, like the real body of the martial soul. The surging soul power surprised Emotion. He had no choice but to give up the capture of Fang Yuan, and start to deal with Zia seriously. Damn. Fang Yuan stared at Zia, who was fighting with Emotion, wanting to go up to help, but he was completely powerless. His strength was too weak, so small that even the aftermath of the battle between the two could take him away directly. At present, the only thing he could do was to call for support, as Zia said. Sister Zia, hold on, I'll be back soon. Fang Yuan gritted his teeth, without hesitation, turned around and ran. Want to run? Emotion wanted to chase, but was entangled by Xia. Xia's combat power, which had activated the 5th soul skill, soared sharply that, even if his level was higher than Xia, he could not solve her in the first time. HMPH, do you think that, if you can hold me back, that kid will be fine? Emotion sneered, and while dealing with Xia's attack, he turned his head and ordered the blood tiger who was crawling on the ground like a good dog behind him. Go, bring that kid back to me, dead or alive. Roar. The blood tiger roared excitedly, jumped up in the direction where Fang Yuan went, and chased after him. Xia wanted to stop him, but the fire line she sprayed was blocked by Emotion. You are so stupid to think of asking a 6-year-old kid who just awakened his martial spirit to ask for help. Emotion released the bloody skeleton to fight against the flame ray sprayed by Xia. The blood tiger is a special variant that I cultivated using the 1000-year-old soul beast, the shadow black tiger. Although it is only 1000 years old, its combat power is so strong that even a soul master or even a soul master may not be its opponent. It's a pity that the blood tiger has a brutal personality. I probably can't get the boy's living body, but it doesn't matter. The boy's martial spirit is the eyes. As long as the eyes are still there, life and death are the same to me. Emotion sneered and released his soul skills. The bloody skeletons appeared again and attacked Xia. Xia gritted her teeth to fight back, but her heart sank when she heard the term shadow black tiger. As the bishop of the Wuhan Hall, she had heard of this kind of soul beast. It was the most ferocious and brutal hunter in the soul beast world. Especially their unique innate characteristics made them almost never miss when locking their prey. But now, she could only pray in her heart that Fang Yuan could successfully escape the pursuit of the blood tiger. Come on, little guy. The Xingdao Great Forest is very large, and in order to find the soul beast of He, Fang Yuan and Xia and others went deep into the forest. At this moment, this deep distance seemed to be a road to death for Fang Yuan, which made him desperate. Fang Yuan tried his best to shuffle through the jungle. His small body was running, and the pale yellow soul ring was shining under his feet. Although he did not release soul skills, the soul power amplified by the soul ring was constantly used by him at this moment. Run faster. Faster. We are almost there. The nearest human organization should be at a temporary supply point in the east. Roar. With the blessing of soul power, Fang Yuan's speed continued to increase, but before Fang Yuan ran a few steps, a terrifying tiger roar suddenly sounded beside Fang Yuan's ears. The boy who was still rushing suddenly stagnated, and the scene of Su Yanteo's death emerged in his mind involuntarily. It seemed to be a sixth sense, or perhaps it felt the whistling wind behind it. Fang Yuan, who was running, stopped his running steps in an extremely twisted posture, and rolled sideways to the ground. The whistling blood shadow almost brushed past the corner of his clothes, and landed heavily on the ground in front of Fang Yuan. Where the tiger's palm landed, a huge crater was left on the ground. The huge force made Fang Yuan feel creepy. If this palm landed on him, let alone serious injuries, his thin arms and legs would be beaten into a meat paste on the spot. Roar. The attack missed, and the blood tiger was not ashamed, but turned around. The scarlet bloodthirsty eyes looked at Fang Yuan, revealing a playful look of a hunter playing with his prey. It walked around Fang Yuan, and the bloody smell that kept emanating from its body stimulated Fang Yuan's nasal cavity. Fang Yuan even felt that his legs were weak, his calves were trembling, and he almost fainted from fright. No. The teeth bit the tip of his tongue, and the pain made Fang Yuan forget his fear for a short time. Looking at the blood tiger that kept surrounding him, as if examining him, and eating the piece of meat on his body first, Fang Yuan forced himself to calm down. The power of this blood tiger was extremely strong. It could kill the great soul master Su Yanteo in an instant, which showed that this level of soul beast was not something he could fight against. The only possibility of survival at the moment was to escape. But, could he escape? Roar. The blood tiger did not give Fang Yuan too much time to think. The desperate wailing and struggling performance of the prey could make it feel happy. As for Fang Yuan standing there in a daze, this bloodthirsty beast seemed very dissatisfied. It decided to complete its master's task first, and then consider other things. Even if Fang Yuan relied on the Sharingan, he had already reacted at the moment when its muscles trembled. See clearly. Fang Yuan's pupils contracted, and the two ink black Sharingans kept turning, like stars in the night. With the powerful insight of the Sharingan, he could even see the blood tiger's spit flying out of its mouth as it pounced and opened its fangs. Neck, right palm. Attack from the left. Dodge to the right. Almost instantly, Fang Yuan had made the best decision in his mind, but before he could twist his body, the blood tiger had already pounced on him. The tiger's teeth missed, but the right palm that fell on Fang Yuan's left arm, which he had no time to dodge. Fang Yuan, who was still dodging in midair, felt a huge force, and the whole person flew backwards under that force. Then, before he could react to what happened, an indescribable pain came from his left arm, followed by a mouthful of blood, and his eyes turned black. The power of the blood tiger's palm caused him unimaginable damage. Although it didn't kill him directly, the constant pain in the left arm that could only droop and could not be lifted up told him that it was broken. His left arm was broken. Fortunately, although the pain was unbearable, the intense pain was constantly stimulating his mind. Without time to think, Fang Yuan almost rolled and crawled to his feet, his left arm drooping, his eyes fixed on the blood tiger, and at the same time, his steps began to move backwards little by little. Chapter 9, The Embarrassed and Terrifying Blood Tiger. Fang Yuan did not dare to turn around and run away directly. It was undoubtedly the most stupid behavior to turn his back to a ferocious carnivorous soul beast without reservation. In his previous life, his father had taught him that when he was attacked by a wild beast unexpectedly, he must not run away with his back turned. The best way to deal with it was to face it and stare at it with his power and eyes. Only in this way can the beast think that you are not his prey, but a hunter who is equal to him. Of course, the blood tiger is not an ordinary beast, and Fang Yuan is a prey target that he must deal with. The intimidation method of eye contact seems to have no effect, but even so, Fang Yuan did not dare to let the blood tiger disappear from his sight. The speed of the blood tiger is too fast. Even if Fang Yuan can rely on the Sharingan to capture the whereabouts and movements of the blood tiger, his body cannot keep up with the speed of the blood tiger. Just like during the Chunin exam, Sas was able to rely on the Sharingan to see through Xiaoli's movements, but when his body could not keep up, he could only passively take the beating. At that time, it was just like this moment. Fang Yuan was in such a situation at the moment. No, if Sas couldn't keep up with Xiaoli, he would at most be beaten up. If Fang Yuan couldn't keep up with the blood tiger's movements, I'm afraid that by this time next year, the grass on the grave will be blown by the wind. No. Looking at the blood tiger in front of him, Fang Yuan was not even sure whether he could have a complete body after being killed. With my speed, if I wait for this beast to attack, and I try to dodge, I will definitely be too late, and the situation just now will occur. Fang Yuan's eyes were fixed on the blood tiger, and the severe pain from his left arm stimulated his mind crazily. I must understand the rhythm of the muscles of this beast before it attacks, so as to predict it. Only in this way can I avoid its attack. Although the blood tiger is powerful, its speed and strength are extremely terrifying. But fortunately, this guy's attack method is relatively simple. Apart from sharp teeth and claws, there is no other means. Roar. The brutal roar came out again from the blood tiger's fangs. Fang Yuan stared with his eyes, observing the blood tiger's every move. The muscles of the hind legs bulged, the muscles of the forelimbs were tense, and the neck bulged. Fang Yuan opened his mouth wide, and before he shouted fuck, the whole person could only dodge and escape in an extremely embarrassed manner. The next second, a ball of blood red energy spewed out of the tiger's mouth and landed directly on Fang Yuan's original position. The energy ball exploded when it touched the ground, and blood red liquid splashed out. The ground and the surrounding trees suddenly made a corroded sizzling sound. Soon, the ground that made the sizzling sound became charred, and the big tree that was splashed, as if it had been deprived of vitality, began to wither and decay directly. If this attack landed on him, Fang Yuan felt his scalp tingling. Damn it, you are a muscular tiger, but you can actually use such a nasty trick. Fang Yuan cursed, and the blood tiger actually let out a human-like roar of laughter, raised its tiger head again, and spit out blood red energy balls at Fang Yuan. One shot. Predicted the position. 2 shots. Luckily dodged. 3 shots. Rolling and crawling. Fang Yuan, covered in mud, dust and fallen leaves, climbed up from the ground panting and breathing in the air. At this moment, he was already sweating profusely, and the constant soreness in his body and even the loss of soul power made him physically and mentally exhausted. Looking back at the blood tiger, this extremely strong monster, with a mottled, twisted tiger face with blood tumors and scales, actually showed a mocking and playful look. It was playing with Fang Yuan, just like a house cat that would not eat a mouse immediately after catching it, but would play with it, making it unable to struggle and swallow it, only after it had no strength to escape. This was the case with the blood tiger at the moment. This won't work, let alone escaping to the temporary base. If you hit me a few more times, I'm afraid I won't even have the strength to escape. We must think of a way. Fang Yuan, you must think of a way. Fang Yuan breathed heavily. The long time of opening his martial soul consumed a lot of soul power and physical strength, making Fang Yuan's vision a little blurry. The pair of constantly rotating Sharingan looked at the blood tiger, and the blood tiger was also looking at Fang Yuan. The four looked at each other. At this moment, the blood tiger seemed to have noticed that Fang Yuan was exhausted, and the idea of playing with him gradually faded. After a tiger roar, the blood tiger no longer released the blood-colored energy ball, but pounced directly at Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan gritted his teeth and dodged, but his tired body could no longer allow him to perfectly avoid the blood tiger's attack. He was knocked out by mistake, and even broke 2 trees. The huge force made Fang Yuan unable to stand up again, and even his vitality began to disappear. The whole person was breathing out but not in. The blood tiger approached step by step and came to Fang Yuan, licking Fang Yuan's body with its barbed tongue, as if checking Fang Yuan's current state. Cold, dry, and lifeless. Dead. But, did he die a little too quickly? There was some doubt in the blood tiger's mind. In the past, when he hunted and killed his prey, the prey's body would often still have the residual warmth from before death. Only those who had been dead for a while would be so cold. He licked Fang Yuan's body twice. Not only was it stiff and lifeless, it seemed, it also lacked a little bit of the meat flavor of a living thing. The licking blood tiger bit down, but what entered his mouth was not flesh and blood, but a mouthful of broken wood residue. The beast's eyes, filled with the smell of blood and evil, showed a trace of confusion and struggle. The next moment, the blood tiger felt a trance in the world in front of him. The guy who should have been hunted, had inexplicably turned into a broken tree branch. What he was chewing in his mouth was not sweet flesh and blood, but a mouthful of dregs. Roar. The blood tiger, who knew that he was being played, roared to the sky, and his blood-red beast eyes were full of madness and violence. He slapped the dead wood in front of him into pieces, and immediately noticed the blood residue mixed with the soil on the ground. The grinning blood tiger lay on the ground and sniffed. The next moment, it locked direction, and chased in the direction with the strongest smell. And in the place it didn't notice, among the dead wood fragments that it bit and even swallowed, there were several emerald green things that looked like seeds. Those emerald green seeds fell to the ground and soon merged into the ground. They took root and sprouted, and the vines broke through the soil. Chapter 10. Desperate situation. Escape technique explodes. Fang Yuan was breathing heavily, sweating all over. Even though his soul power had been completely exhausted, his physical strength was also very low, and there was no muscle in his body that was not sore. His eyelids drooped, and the pain of exhaustion and the stabbing pain in his body almost made Fang Yuan fall down at any time. But he still took steps and kept running. Take 2 more steps. Hold on a little longer. Almost. We will reach the supply station soon. Almost. Fang Yuan gritted his teeth and kept squeezing out all the strength he could mobilize in his body, taking his steps. When he came here again, although he had been practicing in the carriage, he had seen the outer map of the Stardow Great Forest before entering the Stardow Great Forest. With the Sharingan, he could almost be called a photographic memory. The memory in his mind told him that, as long as he walked a distance forward, he would be able to reach a temporary supply station. As long as he got there, he should be safe. Fang Yuan murmured, walking towards the temporary supply station step by step. Soon, the sign of the supply station appeared in Fang Yuan's sight. But before the tired boy could breathe a sigh of relief, when Fang Yuan saw the situation of the supply station clearly, he was stunned on the spot. How could it be? How could it be? Fang Yuan muttered in disbelief. The supply station in front of him was completely devoid of the usual hustle and bustle. The huge station was dead silent. The air was filled with the smell of blood and flesh, and the bodies lying on the ground, bitten and bruised, showed everything that was happening at the moment. In the corner of the supply station, the blood tiger bit off the neck of the last living person, raised its tiger head, stared at Fang Yuan at the entrance of the station, and its eyes were full of violence. Roar. The blood tiger roared to the sky, revealing its bloody mouth, and a suction force burst out from it. Countless blood was sucked out of those corpses, all gathered in its mouth, and was swallowed by it. The thick smell of blood and evil filled the whole world, and the blood tiger's breath was getting stronger and stronger. When they looked at each other, Fang Yuan's eyes were full of fear. He didn't know how the beast had arrived at the temporary station before him. He didn't know how the beast knew where his destination was. Maybe it just wanted to wait for him in front of him, and hunt blood food by the way. But at this moment, he seemed to have nowhere to run. The blood tiger sniffed the ground lightly, and the air full of blood and evil made it intoxicated. But when it thought of the scene where the prey in front of it had just fooled it, the blood tiger's eyes were full of anger. In his opinion, Fang Yuan was like fish on a sticky board, which was already in a state for him to slaughter, and it was actually fooled by such a prey. In fact, if it weren't for his unique talent and skills, he might even lose this prey. Thinking of the consequences of letting the prey go, the blood tiger subconsciously shuddered. Its master was not a good person. Many of its partners were eaten by the master in the end, because they did not complete the master's tasks. The master seemed to value this prey very much. If he could not complete the task, the blood tiger crawled on the ground, staring at Fang Yuan with a pair of beast eyes, completely locking onto him. The body covered with blood tumors and inexplicable scales and black lines began to emit a shadowy light. The blood tiger suddenly began to tremble, and the whole body seemed to melt and merge into the shadow under its feet. The next moment, the blood tiger that merged into the shadow turned into a blood red light and rushed towards Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan wanted to dodge, but his body, which had already reached its limit, could no longer support it to dodge the attack in front of him. He didn't even have time to move his body. He could only protect his chest with both hands and squeeze out the last bit of soul power in his body to prevent his body from being smashed directly. In the blink of an eye, boom. With a muffled sound, Fang Yuan's body was directly knocked out. The thin body flew more than 10 meters in the air, and its arms were almost completely twisted. After landing, it rolled on the ground for more than 10 times, and finally stopped when it hit a big tree. Wow. It was as if there was a burst of fire in the chest. Fang Yuan couldn't hold it back, and he vomited blood mixed with internal organs. There was a burning tearing sensation on his back, and his arms. No, at this moment, Fang Yuan could no longer feel the existence of his arms. The severe pain almost made him faint. Am I going to die? The boy's face was pale, his eyes were closed, and there was no part of his body that didn't hurt. He tried his best to open his eyes, but the dirty scabs mixed with dust and blood blocked his sight. But he could still see the blood tiger that knocked him away and walked towards him. That's it. Is it over like this? At this moment, he was close to death, but he didn't have much fear in his heart, but his body was shaking constantly. Although the broken arm could not be lifted, the hands were tightly grasping the gravel and dirt on the ground, clenched into fists. His eyes were full of unwillingness. His soul power had been exhausted, but the Sharingan in his eye sockets was still rotating. Like a rusty gear being driven by force, it seemed as if there was an invisible force constantly pulling it, making it continue to rotate. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Fang Yuan suddenly opened his eyes wide. Faintly, next to the two rotating Megatama, there seemed to be a trace of another Megatama, which was appearing, but eventually turned into a phantom. However, the palm holding the gravel and dirt suddenly clenched, and the emerald green light burst out from his palm. The blood tiger, which was moving forward step by step, suddenly stopped and stopped. His body began to tremble constantly, and a look of painful struggle appeared on his deformed and ugly face. The blood tiger kept slapping the ground with its tiger paws, and even rolled on the ground, as if countless ants were crawling on its body. At the same time, a green light began to permeate its body. As the green light emerged, a shrill cry of pain came out of the blood tiger's mouth. But after just a few breaths, the sound stopped abruptly, replaced by the sound of flesh being torn apart. Countless vine branches burst out from the blood tiger's body. Limbs, joints, abdomen, neck, head, pupils. The strongest dam is always fragile inside, and the strong body is the most perfect source of nutrition for Hua at this moment. Countless dense vine branches broke out of the body, and almost in the blink of an eye, those young tree branches began to grow wildly without any rules, and countless thorns tore the skin and body surface. But in a few breaths, the blood tiger had disappeared. Instead, there was a towering tree, and under the shade of the tree, there was a boy who fainted. Chapter 11 Hell Difficulty Start. Before a person dies, countless memories of the past before birth will appear before his eyes. When all the memories of this life disappear, that is when the person enters the cycle of life and death. Past memories kept appearing in Fang Yuan's mind, and kept turning into bubbles. His body and consciousness became heavier and heavier. Endless fatigue surged into his heart, like the water of the tide, wanting to swallow him. The eternal night swept over, and he was like a drowning man, falling into the endless darkness. Awake. A hoarse voice sounded in the darkness, and the dark world around him collapsed instantly. The slightly dazzling light made it difficult for Fang Yuan to open his eyes for a while. When his eyes adjusted, Fang Yuan realized that he was in a dim room at this moment. The whole person lay powerlessly on the hard and cold bed. His hands were covered with plaster, and his whole body was wrapped in bandages. In the corner of the room, a hunched body was standing in front of the table, fiddling with something. What on earth is this? As if sensing Fang Yuan's awakening, the hunched old man turned around, and the old and familiar face immediately made Fang Yuan tremble. Yes, it's you. I saw despair in your eyes. It seems that you don't want to see me. Mo Shen sneered and continued to fiddle with the thing in his hand. It was a pottery jar, which was full of red unknown substances, like blood and flesh, and like medicine. Indeed, after all, you have seen your mortal enemy, so it is normal to show such an expression. But you don't need to show that expression to me. Don't worry, the bishop is not dead, and you are not dead either. The real loss is me, right? Mo Shen stopped fiddling with the thing in his hand, and walked in front of Fang Yuan with a bone stick. Under Fang Yuan's resisting eyes, he opened Fang Yuan's mouth, and forced the contents of the pottery jar into Fang Yuan's mouth. This is a mixture of red blood flower and yellow spring dew, Bloody Mary. It is a rare good thing for healing injuries. Yellow spring dew? The mixture was a bit salty and a bit sour. Almost the moment it entered his mouth, the strong smell of blood had already filled Fang Yuan's taste and smell. But when Fang Yuan heard the name of what he drank, his face suddenly turned extremely pale, and he wanted to vomit. I advise you not to vomit. After all, your hand bones are all broken, and your legs and feet are not convenient. If you vomit all over yourself, I won't wipe it for you. And from the look of you, you seem to know what Huan Kundu is. Mo Shen put down the empty can, and looked at Fang Yuan, who was pale, and retching with interest. But I'm more curious about how you got rid of the blood tiger. The blood tiger was cultivated by me using the 1000-year-old shadow black tiger. Although it is only a 1000-year-old soul beast, the special talents and skills of the shadow black tiger are not necessarily its opponents even for the soul masters and soul lords. But you survived from its hands. No, you not only survived, but also killed it. Mo Shen suddenly approached Fang Yuan, his old and ugly face almost touching Fang Yuan's face, and his dim eyes were full of unconcealed greed. The left hand that looked like a demon beast grabbed Fang Yuan's plastered arm and spoke with a firm tone. You have twin martial souls, right? Fang Yuan's pupils contracted, and the corners of his mouth moved slightly. He tried his best to stay calm. But seeing Fang Yuan like this, Mo Shen laughed out loud. I didn't expect it. I didn't expect it. God really won't let me go. God won't let me go. I originally thought that you just had a pair of eyes of your original martial soul, which was given to me by God, to help me break through the Soul Emperor. I didn't expect that you actually had twin martial souls. To be able to defeat the blood tiger, your second martial soul must be extremely powerful. Innate full soul power, twin martial souls, ha 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 ha. Soon, all of this will be mine. All of it will be mine. Mo Shen glanced at Fang Yuan, who was pale, and turned away with a big laugh. With a clang, the dark door closed tightly, and the risk of blowing out the only burning candle in the room, causing it to flicker. The dim space was filled with the stench of decay. Fang Yuan gritted his teeth, and wanted to struggle, but there was nothing he could do. At this moment, he felt as if he had a high fever, and he was weak all over. Except for his eyes, his other organs could not move at all. However, although his body was seriously injured, fortunately, the long coma replenished his exhausted mental power. Sharingan. Fang Yuan took a deep breath, opened his Sharingan, and observed the situation around him. This was an almost completely closed room. Except for a small window in the upper right corner for ventilation, there was only a small table in the whole room. The scarlet eyes were so conspicuous in the darkness, but unexpectedly, his spirit ring did not appear with the opening of the Sharingan. Not only that, his only mental shock spirit skill seemed to disappear at this moment, and completely lost its effect. Fang Yuan was shocked, but soon he calmed down. His martial spirit was still there. After the evil spirit master discovered that he was a twin martial spirit, it was obvious that he wanted more than just to seize his Sharingan. It is very likely that what he wanted was his entire body. Devour, take over, or other ways. However, for now, Fang Yuan's condition is okay. When the martial spirit is still there are only two situations that can make one's soul ring and soul skills invalid. 1. The body is hit by a sealed soul skill. 2. External force restriction. Fang Yuan is very clear about his current condition. His body is seriously injured and unable to move, but there are not many problems with his mental strength, so the probability of being hit by a sealed soul skill is not high. As for external force restriction, Fang Yuan took a deep breath, and he recalled that there was really a place in Douluo Continent that could restrict soul rings and soul skills. Moreover, the guys living in that place happened to be crazy and violent guys like evil soul masters. The most chaotic and bloody area in Douluo Continent is also the inheritance place of Shura God, one of the 5 great gods of the God Realm Committee and the head of the 3 law enforcement gods. The city of killing. Fang Yuan took a deep breath. His current situation can be regarded as the worst start. When he was at his weakest, he was seriously injured and captured by an evil spirit master who coveted his body. However, this situation, which was almost certain to end in death, had a chance of turning around because of the unique geographical environment at this moment. Chapter 12. Desperate Struggle. Mo Shen, a level 59 evil soul master. He likes to devour the martial souls of soul masters and strengthen them to enhance his own strength. He has no friends and likes to make alchemy and dismember soul beasts. He has several thousand-year-old soul beasts as pets. As far as Fang Yuan knows and has seen, there is an exploding gorilla and a jade snake. The exploding gorilla can speak human language and is like a servant butler. He stays in this house on weekdays. The jade snake replaces the blood tiger and follows Mo Shen closely. The above is what Fang Yuan has captured and learned through his own observations in the past month and the fragmentary information from Mo Shen on weekdays. Yes, he has been trapped in this dark little room for a whole month. When he was lying on the bed and couldn't move at all at the beginning, Fang Yuan showed a look of struggle and despair every time he woke up. Now he is numb, silent, and desperate. That is not acting, but the most real emotional expression in Fang Yuan's heart. A boy who was only 6 years old, injured and unable to move, was imprisoned like an animal. The expression of despair and numbness came completely from Fang Yuan's heart. From struggling and resisting, to going crazy, and then to the despair and numbness now. In just 1 month, Fang Yuan showed all the expressions that a normal boy should show. In the dark room, only the candlestick in the corner of the wall was burning with the light of a ghost fire. Fang Yuan curled up in another corner of the room, which was completely covered by shadows and darkness. He curled up, with disheveled hair, and his young and immature face was full of numbness and despair. There were many scratches on his arms and wrists, which were the wounds left by Fang Yuan in his numb and desperate struggle to escape from here. Obviously, he failed and was also seriously injured. He closed his eyes, seemingly exhausted by the torture of the dark imprisonment, but in fact, Fang Yuan was looking for an opportunity to escape all the time. During this period of time, Fang Yuan has been acquiring various information and basically confirmed that this is the City of Slaughter. As the inheritance place of the Shura God, the City of Slaughter prohibits the use of all soul power and soul skills. Only the purest killing battle here can make it to the end and become the strongest. In other words, here, The gap between Emoshen and him is extremely narrowed, and he can even rely on the personal advantage of the Sharingan to complete the counter killing of Emoshen. When the soul power is restricted, and the soul skills cannot be used, the martial soul and the strength of oneself will determine how strong you can be in the City of Slaughter. But from a physical point of view, Fang Yuan, who is only 6 years old, is naturally not as good as Emoshen. Even if Emoshen is old and about to die, the body that has absorbed the martial soul of others, like a soul beast, is not something Fang Yuan can fight against. But in terms of the martial soul, it is not necessarily the case. The power of the Sharingan is extremely powerful, especially Fang Yuan's pupil power has unexpectedly been greatly enhanced after the last battle with the Blood Tiger. Although it has not evolved to the level of 3 Magatama, Fang Yuan's Sharingan has begun to possess the power of hypnosis that only 3 Magatama Sharingan can possess after the pupil power has increased. This is also the reason why Fang Yuan can persist. Unfortunately, Fang Yuan has not had the opportunity to contact Emoshen in the past few days. Even the daily meals are delivered by the exploding gorilla under Emoshen. The strength of the exploding gorilla may not be as good as that of the Blood Tiger, but it is definitely not much different. Without soul power, Fang Yuan is not its opponent at all, let alone using the Sharingan to confuse and control it. Hold steady, just wait until Emoshen appears, just wait patiently. Since he covets my martial soul and body, there must be a chance to contact. Hold steady. Fang Yuan gritted his teeth secretly and cheered himself up in his heart. To be honest, if he was not a time traveler and had decades of experience as a social animal in his previous life, he would probably have given up long ago. But even so, the emotions Fang Yuan usually showed were the most real catharsis. Otherwise, such repressed emotions would drive anyone crazy. As long as I can control Emoshen, I can escape from here without bloodshed, and I may even have 2,000-year soul beasts as my own fighting force. The killing city is extremely chaotic. Even if I can escape from here, I must consider what to do after escaping. According to Fang Yuan's memory, the killing city allows entry but not exit. Once you enter it, if you want to get out, you must win the championship of the Hell Killing Field and rush out of the Hell Road after you have the qualifications to challenge the Hell Road. Only in this way can you leave the killing city. Otherwise, even if you can deal with Emoshen, you may have to stay in the killing city for the rest of your life. Fang Yuan shook his head and thought too much. He didn't even deal with Emoshen, and he didn't even break free from the cage in front of him. The killing city was still far away from him. The most urgent thing is to deal with Emoshen first and escape from this cage. But, how can I meet Emoshen? Fang Yuan kept thinking with his head down. To be honest, he didn't know what Emoshen was doing. In a month, except for feeding him the yellow spring dew potion at the beginning, he never showed up again. Waiting all the time. It's a bit difficult. Emoshen will definitely come, but Fang Yuan has no idea how long he will come. A month has almost reached his limit. If this goes on, not only will Emoshen not come, but he will go crazy. He can't wait any longer. Waiting will only lead to starvation. Only by taking the initiative can there be a glimmer of hope. The reason why Emoshen kept me here is that he couldn't bear to kill me, couldn't bear to see me die. He wants me alive. Only when I'm alive can he get the maximum power of my martial spirit. Then, Fang Yuan lowered his head. Under his messy hair, a scarlet double Magatama Sharingan was spinning madly. There was a hint of cruelty on his young and tender face. There is no creation without destruction. Only when you are at the risk of death can you survive. Hey, human boy, it's time for dinner. Chapter 13. Emotions are gradual, as are trust and self-awareness. In the following week, Emoshen still did not show up. Everything on weekdays was handled by the exploding ape, delivering meals to him and checking his physical condition, just like punching a clock in, day after day. Everything seemed so peaceful, but Fang Yuan could no longer wait. The dark life of captivity made him collapse. He could no longer stay here, not even for a second. Human boy, it's time to eat. The dark door was opened, and the tall exploding ape walked into the room with a pot of scarlet meat. As always, Fang Yuan curled up in the corner. The exploding ape put the plate on the table and subconsciously sniffed the air. For some reason, the smell of blood in the air today was particularly strong. The exploding ape swaggered to Fang Yuan and muttered, "Don't sleep anymore. Human boy, get up and eat. The exploding ape was startled by the wet feeling coming from under his feet. He grabbed his feet in disbelief. The blood that had not yet dried immediately dyed his palm red. The exploding ape grabbed Fang Yuan's hair and lifted up Fang Yuan's face. Only then did he realize that Fang Yuan's face was pale at this moment. Although he had not yet fainted, he was almost there. The pale face, the gloomy look, and the blood that kept dripping. Human boy. The exploding ape grabbed Fang Yuan's arm in shock and put it on the bed. Then he tore off the already dirty clothes on Fang Yuan. The dirty clothes were already soaked in blood and were torn open by the exploding ape. The flat white chest was not glorious, with fine wounds all over it, and among them, a hideous wound extended from Fang Yuan's left shoulder to his lower abdomen. This wound was not fatal, but the blood that kept flowing out was enough to make Fang Yuan return to the arms of the goddess of death. There were also broken, blood-stained stones on the ground. Obviously, Fang Yuan used it to turn himself into this. Stupid human boy, stupid. The exploding ape let out a low roar of shame and anger, then turned around and ran out of the room. Not long after, the exploding ape had a roll of bandages and a pot of scarlet yellow spring dew in his hands. Stop bleeding, bandage, and give Fang Yuan yellow spring dew. Although the exploding ape was strong, he was not clumsy when doing things, and the skillful and quick process was obviously not the first time he had done this. After forcing Fang Yuan to drink the yellow spring dew, the exploding ape stood up. After hesitating for a long time, the exploding ape did not leave directly, but used bandages to tie up Fang Yuan's hands and feet. During this time, Fang Yuan did not struggle at all, and let the exploding ape tie him up. When the exploding ape finished everything, and raised his head, he saw Fang Yuan's numb and dim eyes. The exploding ape has wisdom, and thinking that is no less than that of normal humans. After seeing Fang Yuan showing such an expression, how could he not understand in his heart that this human boy has completely lost his heart, despair, and even has the idea of committing suicide? He has seen this kind of eyes many times. In the past, those guys who showed such an expression would basically die suddenly within a few days. This human boy could not. Fang Yuan had done many acts of self-mutilation and suicide before, and he had saved Fang Yuan many times. But not once did Fang Yuan show such an expression. Emotions are gradual, and so are trust and self-awareness. Therefore, when the exploding ape found Mo Shen in a panic, and told him that Fang Yuan was completely desperate and even started to seek death, Mo Shen's face finally showed a trace of impatience. "You are so eager to die, can't you bear it?" Mo Shen's eyes were filled with a trace of irritation. He was not ready to devour Fang Yuan. If he acted rashly, the success rate might not be enough. Moreover, he was very busy with the affairs of the Slaughter City during this period, and he was very irritated. Although the Slaughter City is the most evil and chaotic place on the Douluo Continent, it is also a paradise for evil soul masters like them. But it is not a safe and risk-free shelter. Here, you can do whatever you want, but you must abide by the rules of the Slaughter City. That is, survive once a year in the hell-killing field. Originally, Mo Shen wanted to survive this time in the hell-killing field, and then slowly, bit by bit, enjoy Fang Yuan, this delicacy. But now it seems that, based on the current state of this stinky boy, he may not be able to wait until that time. Forget it. If there is a chance of failure, then let's fail. At worst, I can take down his eyes and strengthen my strength first. Mo Shen was making plans in his mind. Some time ago, he did repel Xia and kidnap Fang Yuan, but he also attracted the attention of the Spirit Hall. Under the pursuit of the Spirit Hall, he had no choice but to bring Fang Yuan to the Slaughter City and live in the outer city of the Slaughter City. He had heard about the Slaughter City a long time ago, especially the horror of the hell-killing field. Under the condition of restricted soul power and soul skills, even if he had a powerful body transplanted with soul, he was still a little weak and didn't have much confidence to win the hell-killing field. Since Fang Yuan, this kid, wanted to die so much, he could only fulfill the wish of that stinky boy and improve his own strength first. At the same time, in the Holy Soul Village, how is it possible? It's actually full innate soul power. A beautiful woman looked at the boy in front of her with astonishment. The boy was about 5 or 6 years old, with short black hair, dark skin, and ordinary appearance. But at this moment, his palm was against the crystal ball, and an unimaginable light burst out, almost illuminating the whole house. How is it possible? It's fine that there is a person with full innate soul power in the Emperor Soul village next door, but I didn't expect that there is also a person with full innate soul power in this Holy Soul village. Sissy opened her mouth wide, full of disbelief. Your name is Tang-san. Tang-san also found that his test results were different from those of other children. After nodding, he asked in confusion, my name is Tang-san. Auntie, what is full innate soul power? Auntie? Sissy frowned. With such a look, she actually called me auntie. It's really not tactful. However, although Sissy was unhappy because Tang-san's full innate soul power brought her a lot of shock, she still explained to Tang-san the origin of full innate soul power. What a pity. Although you have full innate spirit power, your martial soul is blue silver grass. If your martial soul is a mutant martial soul like the kid in the next village, you must have a bright future. The kid next door. Tang-san was puzzled. His name is Fang Yuan. His martial soul awakened last month and has been taken away by our bishop to join the martial arts academy. Fang Yuan? Tang-san looked at Sissy with envy in his eyes, and a slightly blurred face suddenly appeared in his mind. He also has full innate spirit power. Chapter 14. The situation turns around. Soul devouring blood sutra. The next day, when the door opened again, and it was not only the exploding orangutan who entered the room, Fang Yuan knew that his plan had succeeded. Emo Shen was reluctant to let him die. From the beginning, he was not killed by Emo Shen directly, but was saved. From the time when he kept hurting himself and torturing himself, but was saved by the exploding orangutan several times, Fang Yuan had already understood this. And this will also be the only key for Fang Yuan to pry open this closed cage. Creaky. The door opened. Emo Shen walked in front of Fang Yuan with a cold face, looking at the boy who lowered his head, motionless, and full of despair and death. The exploding orangutan behind him walked out of the room sensibly, looking at Fang Yuan with a trace of pity in his eyes, and then closed the door. He knew what would happen next, but it was also good. Instead of letting that human boy keep hurting himself and despairing here, it would be better to end it here. This might as well be a relief for him. The light of the morning sun shone in through the narrow window, bringing a ray of light to the dim room. You are a young and immature boy who doesn't know the value of life. A little bit of torture can make you collapse and go crazy. Emo Shen looked at Fang Yuan, who was standing in front of him with his head down and not saying a word. For some reason, some long lost memories suddenly emerged in his mind, and he felt a little emotional. A long time ago, he seemed to have a child this old, about the same age as Fang Yuan, 5 or 6 years old. Inexplicable emotions surged in Emo Shen's heart. He wanted to teach him a lesson, but he felt it was a bit ridiculous. How could a guy like him suddenly think of those things? Emo Shen shook his head fiercely and looked at Fang Yuan, who was lowering his head. In 1 month, you committed suicide 16 times, wasting nearly 20 cups of my yellow spring dew. Do you know how much those things are worth? Fang Yuan remained silent. For some reason, Emo Shen suddenly became angry. He grabbed Fang Yuan's hair and lifted it up. Since you are determined to die, then I will. The four eyes met, and a pair of scarlet double Magatama Sharingan came into view. Emo Shen trembled suddenly, his eyes were blank, and before he could finish his words, he became weak. Hello. Fang Yuan twitched his lips. He had been silent for a long time, and the lack of food made his throat extremely dry, and his words were a little hoarse. Emo Shen? Old dog. Dead bastard? Unpleasant words kept coming out of Fang Yuan's mouth, but Emo Shen seemed to have never heard them. He stood quietly in the same place, like a soulless puppet without anyone controlling him. Success. Fang Yuan breathed a sigh of relief. Looking at Emo Shen, who was trapped in the illusion, Fang Yuan suddenly felt that everything he had done during this period of time was worth it. Imprisoned in the dark, living without clothes and food. In order to survive, in order to attract Emo Shen's attention in advance, he constantly hurt himself every day. Looking at the ugly face in front of him, Fang Yuan's heart was full of anger. He wanted to punch this guy in the face, skin him, and torture him to death. But, it's not enough. Fang Yuan took 2 deep breaths, and forced himself to calm down. Simply controlling Emo Shen is far from enough. Don't forget that there are 2 powerful 1000-year soul beasts outside the door. Not to mention the soul skills that cannot be used in the killing city. Even if they can be used, Fang Yuan's strength alone is definitely not the opponent of the 2000-year soul beasts. Not to mention that Fang Yuan is extremely weak at the moment, and his condition is only 1/10 of his original state. He needs to calm down and think about it in the long run. He must not do it recklessly, otherwise, he is likely to become Star-Lord in Avengers 3, whose reason is ignited by anger, and he will lose everything in the end. But how to break the situation? As long as he attacks Emoshen, the 2000-year soul beasts will definitely attack him. In other words, Emoshen cannot die now. However, with his current pupil power, he has no way to completely control Emoshen and let him fall into an illusion. This is already his limit. What should I do? Fang Yuan thought, and his eyes swept over and fell on Emoshen's withered hand holding the bone stick. It was a dark red bracelet. The whole bracelet was black and red, made of an unknown metal, and engraved with extremely fine patterns that looked like scales. The end was connected, and there was a small black crystal at the connection. The whole looked like a long snake connected from head to toe. This is... Fang Yuan's eyes lit up. Ordinary jewelry would naturally not attract his attention. The situation was so urgent and his life was almost in danger. What was the use of these gold and silver jewelry? However, Fang Yuan, who had his Sharingan turned on, felt that it was unusual at first sight. There seemed to be a slight airflow flowing and storing on the black jade beads in the mouth of the Ouroboros. Soul Guide? Fang Yuan's eyes lit up. He was originally puzzled. Emoshen seemed to have nothing on weekdays, but he seemed to have everything. I didn't expect that this evil soul master actually had a soul guide. Fang Yuan unceremoniously took the Ouroboros bracelet from Emoshen's hand. Emoshen, who was trapped in the illusion, did not struggle at all, and the Ouroboros easily fell into Fang Yuan's hand. Injecting soul power into it, Fang Yuan immediately felt the existence of a small space. The space was about 1 cubic meter in size, and there were many things stored in it. The largest number was some gold, silver and copper soul coins. In addition, there were various organs that were bloody and fleshy, with feathered wings and sharp hooked claws. There were even several eyeballs soaked in culture bottles. If he didn't know that this was Douluo Continent, Fang Yuan would even think that he had accidentally entered the 5 villages fight, Snake or the human experiment base of the route. Resisting the nausea, Fang Yuan shifted his sight away from the messy flesh and blood organs and looked at the other end. It was in the corner of the soul guide space. A somewhat simple book and a black crystal attracted Fang Yuan's attention. Fang Yuan was a little curious, and with a thought, the book and the black crystal appeared in his hands at the same time. This is... Fang Yuan first looked at the somewhat rustic book. The outside of the whole book was wrapped in a black and red hardcover. The edge of the book was a little damaged, and it looked a little shabby and rustic, but the content and text inside were not damaged. Fang Yuan curiously opened it, and a few large black characters caught his eye. Soul Devouring, Blood Sutra. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15 Reborn. After more than 10 minutes, Fang Yuan slowly put down the book in his hand. This is a special cultivation method, which not only contains 7 meditation cultivation methods, but also an extremely evil soul skill called Soul Devouring Spell. The meditation cultivation method is no different from what Fang Yuan has mastered. It is also through meditation, using mental power to improve and temper oneself, thereby improving one's soul power. However, this soul skill called Soul Devouring Spell is somewhat interesting. The general meaning of this soul skill is to use special means to plunder and devour the martial soul of the soul master, integrate it into one's own body, and increase oneself. In addition to being able to devour the martial soul of the soul master, this spell can also devour and enslave soul beasts, thereby obtaining the power of soul beasts to strengthen oneself. The bloody and cruel description completely reveals the identity of this book. The cultivation method of the evil soul master. No wonder Emoshen can have those limbs that look like soul beast monsters, and even set his sights on me. It turns out that this is the case. Fang Yuan's face showed a look of sudden realization. Judging from the introduction alone, this soul-devouring spell is indeed powerful. After all, the power of devouring and plundering is not weak, no matter in which world. However, Fang Yuan has no intention to practice it. Not to mention that he is in a desperate situation and has no time to practice. Even if he has time, Fang Yuan is not going to practice this so-called soul-devouring blood sutra. Fang Yuan has also heard a little about the practice of evil soul masters. The cruel means are okay to do in private, but once discovered, he will inevitably be labeled as an evil soul master, pointed at by thousands of people, and killed by everyone. He is born with full soul power, a good seedling brought by the bishop of the spirit hall to obtain the spirit, a reserve of the spirit academy, and an absolute genius. A person with such a good family background, he gave up his bright future and generous way, to practice the things of the evil soul master? Unless Fang Yuan's brain is crazy. For people like him in the spirit hall, things like the soul-devouring blood sutra should be burned to prevent poisoning others. Fang Yuan flipped through the soul-devouring blood sutra again, intending to put it back into his Ouroboros bracelet, but Fang Yuan seemed to have seen something, frowned slightly, and stared at a page in the soul-devouring blood sutra. Use the power of the soul-devouring to condense the soul-devouring magic crystal, devour and enslave all beasts. Soul-devouring magic crystal? Fang Yuan chewed on this special term, suddenly turned his head, and his eyes fell on the black crystal beside him. The crystal was dark black, but if you look closely, it seems to be covered with countless blood-colored lines, like meridians, and in the center of the crystal there are 4 star-like light spots. 2 of the light spots have become extremely dim, while the remaining 2 are still flickering with light. The most peculiar thing is that, although the black crystal looks like a crystal stone, it feels warm to the touch. It's like it's alive. Use the power of soul-devouring to condense the soul-devouring magic crystal. Devour and enslave all beasts. Devour and enslave all beasts. Fang Yuan murmured, looking at the only 2 spots of light left in the black crystal, and the figures of the exploding orangutan and the jade snake suddenly appeared in his mind. Could it be? Fang Yuan's eyes lit up, and he was a little excited. Yes, it should be. This soul-devouring magic crystal is the key that Mo Shen uses to control the exploding orangutan and the jade snake. The soul beasts are so violent, and the guys under Mo Shen's command are even more bloodthirsty and violent than the other. This kind of magic beast, let alone taming it, ordinary creatures will probably be bitten and devoured by it, even if they get close to it. But what about those guys? The blood tiger who is well behaved and obedient, and who follows Mo Shen's orders, is like the exploding orangutan who is a servant butler. In front of Mo Shen, how can these guys still look like soul beasts? They are clearly domesticated livestock. At first, Fang Yuan really thought that these soul beasts were tamed by Mo Shen. Now it seems that it was clearly Mo Shen who used the soul-devouring magic crystal to control them. If this crystal is a soul-devouring magic crystal, no. I need to calm down. I need to calm down. Fang Yuan took a deep breath and held the soul-devouring magic crystal tightly. If this crystal is the so-called soul-devouring magic crystal, then now this magic crystal is in my hand, and the control of the exploding orangutan and the jade snake, which originally belonged to Mo Shen, should be transferred to me. Then, Fang Yuan took a deep breath, condensed the soul power in his body, and poured it into the soul-devouring magic crystal. At the same time, he spoke in a commanding tone to the outside of the room. Exploding orangutan, come in. Under normal circumstances, when Mo Shen was alone with him, the exploding orangutan would not dare to enter Ashley without Mo Shen's instructions. But now, Fang Yuan's eyes were fixed on the door. The short few seconds of waiting made Fang Yuan feel like a year. Creaky. The iron door was pushed open from the outside, and the exploding orangutan stepped into the room with a confused look on his face. His sight first fell on Mo Shen, and then on Fang Yuan. Finally, it stopped at the soul-devouring magic crystal that Fang Yuan held tightly in his right hand. His eyes were filled with a hint of doubt, a hint of shock, a hint of disbelief and disbelief. Crystal, human boy, crystal, kneel down. Because of weakness, Fang Yuan's voice became very light and slightly hoarse. But such seemingly weak and whining words, for the exploding orangutan, were really like the irresistible will of God. It knelt down. facing Fang Yuan. Ha 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 ha. Fang Yuan covered his face and laughed. The soul power in his body was no longer reserved at this moment. The power generated by the explosion of soul power easily tore all the bandages that bound him. He grabbed the bone stick in Emo Shen's palm and stabbed it into Emo Shen's chest without any hindrance. Emo Shen, who was controlled by the illusion, trembled violently. When his confused eyes regained clarity, he had already fallen to the ground. Dark red blood flowed out of Emo Shen's body, covering the ground, and the air was suddenly filled with a fishy smell. Fang Yuan took a deep breath of the pungent fishy smell in the air. To be honest, this smell was really unpleasant. The mixed fusion of limbs had already polluted Emo Shen's body, but Fang Yuan's face was full of intoxication. Under the incredulous eyes of the exploding ape, Emo Shen's body fell to the ground, but Fang Yuan stood up and walked out of the dark corner. The sparse light shone in through the narrow window and just fell on Fang Yuan's body, illuminating the somewhat pale, yet extremely tender and immature face. As if reborn. Chapter 16, City of Killing. Fang Yuan laughed loudly in the light. The exploding orangutan lay on the ground, looking at the laughing boy, opened his mouth, but could not make a sound. The thin and weak boy who seemed to be struggling between life and death yesterday, sinking in despair and silence, has become so tall at this moment. Fang Yuan pulled out the bone stick from Emo Shen's body and leaned on it, just like Emo Shen leaned on the bone stick to walk before. He also leaned on the bone stick to support his weak body. But this bone stick is a little too high for Fang Yuan. In Emo Shen's hand, the bone stick is like a crutch, but in Fang Yuan's hand, it is like a spear, which looks a little out of place and a little funny. But the exploding orangutan lowered his head, and at this moment, he didn't even dare to look at Fang Yuan again. What a terrible human. Where is the jade snake? A hoarse voice sounded. The exploding chimpanzee replied tremblingly, for the master, to get the yellow spring dew for Emo Shen. The exchange of yellow spring dew requires human blood. Obviously, in order to survive smoothly in the killing city, Emo Shen has also made a lot of efforts. But, it's for me. Fang Yuan spoke faintly, and the exploding chimpanzee trembled violently and nodded continuously. It's for the master. I went to exchange yellow spring dew for the master. Seeing this, Fang Yuan showed a satisfied look. During this period of time, the dark imprisonment almost made Fang Yuan collapse, and now that his identity was reversed, Fang Yuan's suppressed emotions in his heart burst out at this moment. Distortion in temperament is normal. Fang Yuan kicked the body of Emo Shen at his feet. Take this thing out and exchange it for yellow spring dew. After it's over, you and the jade snake come together. Yes, master. The exploding chimpanzee grabbed Emo Shen's body on the ground with some trembling, and then fled out of the room. The funny look made Fang Yuan laugh. He didn't hide it at all. His unbridled, hoarse and immature laughter sounded a little sharp and a little harsh. Fang Yuan laughed until his voice became hoarse, tears welled up in his eyes, and he collapsed on the hard and cold stone bed again before he stopped. He looked at the door closed by the exploding gorilla, the bloodstains left by Emo Shen on the ground, and the bloodstained gravel blade in the corner that he used to hurt himself. It's over. Fang Yuan said softly, not knowing who to say it to. He felt so tired all over, from head to toe, from inside to outside, exhausted physically and mentally, and now, he can finally have a good sleep. The Sharingan, which had not been closed for almost a month, slowly turned, and just when he closed his eyes, the third Megatama appeared silently, forming a triangle with the other two Megatama, opposing each other. A slight snoring sound was heard, and the 6-year-old boy curled up on the cold stone bed. The dark soul devouring magic crystal was tightly grasped in his palm, and he refused to relax for a moment. The city of slaughter, the place where the Shura god was tested, the most chaotic, evil, and corrupt place in the entire Douluo Continent. Whether it is the inner city or the outer city, as long as you step into it, the whole world will only be left with blood and killing. Fang Yuan lived in the outer city. Although it is called the outer city, it is actually a barren land. Not to mention a house. There is not even a decent shed here. If you want to live, you can only find a place to live. This is why Fang Yuan's previous residence only had a small window. However, even with such a living environment, 2 cups of Huan Quan Dew need to be paid every month. The so-called Huan Quan Dew is actually human blood. In this chaotic city, life is the only currency. Fang Yuan walked on the barren ground. On his thin left hand, there was a green snake that looked like emerald white jade. From time to time, he looked around and spit out the snake's tongue. Although the outer city was blessed by the king of slaughter and killing was prohibited, Fang Yuan could not guarantee that those guys who had only evil thoughts in their minds and only death and killing in their hearts would be able to behave themselves. It was definitely better to be careful, so he brought the jade snake over and let the exploding orangutan stay at home. The jade snake was a 1,000-year-old beast, about 3,000 years old, and its strength was the soul master. However, after Mo Shen used the soul-devouring spell to improve it, the strength of the jade snake was far superior to that of an ordinary 3,000-year-old beast, especially the fangs. Even a 5,000-year-old beast might not be its opponent. A 5,000-year-old beast could basically be regarded as a soul master at the soul sect level. Soul beasts had very few restrictions in the slaughter city. If someone really targeted Fang Yuan and could not use soul skills, Fang Yuan would have the power to counterattack with the existence of the jade snake. Fang Yuan led the jade snake and walked forward and finally came to a building that could be considered a house. Knock, knock, knock. Fang Yuan knocked on the door, and after a while, a cold voice came out. What do you want? Registration. Fang Yuan said calmly. There was silence in the house for a few seconds, and after a while, the door opened, and a tall black shadow appeared at the door. The man was wrapped in black armor, even his face, and the aura on his body was extremely powerful. The special aura that came to his face was obviously different from those who had their soul power and soul skills suppressed. Identity token. The man looked down at Fang Yuan and was slightly stunned by Fang Yuan's thin and childish appearance. A trace of surprise flashed in his eyes, but he quickly adjusted back. In the city of slaughter, no one should be underestimated. Appearance has never represented anything. As a law enforcement officer, he naturally knows this. It's just that this kid's immaturity doesn't seem to be a disguise. 7052. Fang Yuan had a black skull token in his hand, with the number 7052 engraved on it. Sir, I've replaced the guy with the code name 7052 and applied for registration. The law enforcement officer took the token in silence, searched for a moment, and returned it to Fang Yuan. Token verification. Identity confirmation. Welcome to the city of slaughter. As a newly registered newcomer, you have 12 hours of protection time. Within 12 hours, you can ask me all questions. After 12 hours, you will be completely integrated into the city of slaughter and become one of them. No need. What? The law enforcement officer was slightly stunned. Fang Yuan shook his head and took out 3 portions of yellow spring dew from the Ouroboros bracelet. Please, law enforcement officer, register this month's yellow spring dew for me. In addition, I want to apply to challenge this year's Hell Killing Field. What? The law enforcement officer suddenly paused, looking at Fang Yuan in front of him with astonishment. Are you sure? Chapter 17. Killing Fields of Hell. The Killing Field of Hell is the core and most important area of the Killing City. It is located in the inner city of the Killing City and is the most chaotic place in the entire Killing City. Under the leadership of the law enforcement officer, Fang Yuan brought the Jade Snake into the inner city. Unlike the desolation and silence of the outer city, the faces of the people in the outer city basically reveal an unhealthy paleness, and most of them are skinny. Obviously, in order to survive in the Killing City, they all use their own blood to make the yellow spring dew and linger here. But this is not the case in the inner city. Compared with the lingering, desolate and dead outer city, the entire inner city seems extremely chaotic and crazy. There are excited laughter, painful cries, and many creepy sounds everywhere. Death, killing, desire, unscrupulous, and do whatever they want. Countless indescribable scenes, where a casual word could lead to the killing of the great god of river crabs were imprinted in Fang Yuan's eyes. Even though he was well informed and had experienced the information explosion world in his previous life, he could not help but be shocked. Rather than saying that this is a paradise of sin, it is better to say that it is a world of beasts. The people here, except for wearing a human skin, they are basically no different from beasts. The two walked through the streets and finally came to a special building. The building was circular in shape and looked similar to the Roman Colosseum in the previous life. but the area of this building was the largest at the bottom, and it would narrow as it went up. It was about 30 meters above the ground, and it maintained the same diameter, and extended upwards to 50 meters. The black building gave people a very depressing feeling, and the bloody smell that came to their faces was suffocating. 7052. As a newcomer, since you have handed in 3 cups of Huangquan, you have 1 year to survive in the outer city. But since you are ready to challenge the hell-killing field, I will not stop you. The law enforcement officer took Fang Yuan and stopped at the outer objects of the hell-killing field. The rules of the battle in the hell-killing field are very simple. That is, there are no rules. No matter what method you use, as long as you can walk out alive in the end, you will be considered a winner. As long as you can complete a game, you can get the opportunity to live in the inner city for a year. The law enforcement officer looked at Fang Yuan and said calmly, in the inner city, everything is free, including food, accommodation, everything, all free. Compared with the barren world of the outer city, the inner city, where everything is free, is indeed like heaven. Obviously, he regarded Fang Yuan as someone who craves a high quality life. Fang Yuan did not explain. Although he entered the inner city for this reason, his real goal was still other things. The registration fee for the hell-killing field is a cup of Huangquan, and the qualification to watch the game is also, "Don't kill me. Don't kill me. Ah." The scream interrupted the law enforcement officer's explanation. Fang Yuan frowned slightly and turned his head to look. I saw a strong man covered in blood crawling on the ground, begging for mercy to a charming and plump woman. The whole arm of the sturdy man was gone, and the dripping blood was all over the ground. The seductive woman held a scimitar in her hand. The blade was stained red, and she stepped on the sturdy man. Fang Yuan frowned slightly. In his perception, the sturdy man's level should be much higher than that of the seductive woman, but in terms of breath, Zhuang Han was extremely chaotic. Weak. Don't be surprised. The law enforcement officer glanced at the seductive woman and saw that the scimitar easily ended the life of the sturdy man, and then grabbed him and walked to the alley. Seeing that the seductive woman had quickly ended the sturdy man, many people around them actually showed disappointment and regret. It was as if the sturdy man was not killed by them, and they were regretful that the prey was lost. There are many life and death battles in the hell-killing ground every day, and a large number of soul masters gather every time. These soul masters are not all here to participate in the fights in the killing ground. Some soul masters will spend a cup of yellow spring dew to observe the status of the soul masters in the killing ground and select suitable targets. When they are about to end the battle, those soul masters will leave the field in advance and squat outside the killing ground. They will take the opportunity to kill those soul masters who survived the life and death battle but were seriously injured, so as to exchange them for yellow spring dew. This is a daily life in the hell-killing ground. The law enforcement officer spoke calmly, and his eyes under the black mask looked at Fang Yuan as if he wanted the young man to retreat. But unexpectedly, after seeing such a scene and hearing his words, this immature and arrogant boy not only did not show a look of fear, but also showed an expression of eagerness to try. It was simply stupid and hopeless. The law enforcement officer snorted in his heart. Since Fang Yuan wanted to die so much, he would naturally not stop him. "Sir, please take me to sign up." Fang Yuan smiled and urged. The law enforcement officer nodded and took Fang Yuan into the killing field of hell, but he had already made a judgment on Fang Yuan's fate in his heart. A genius boy who longs for a good life but doesn't know what it means will eventually suffer and even die because he has seen the real reality. The law enforcement officer took Fang Yuan and walked into the killing field of hell. The interior of the killing field of hell is even simpler than it looks from the outside. There is no isolation here. The outer periphery is a circle of stands extending upwards, and below is a huge open field with a diameter of hundreds of square meters. At this time, there are not many people watching the game in the field. The huge field is only less than 20% occupied, and on the field, screams are constantly ringing. There are a total of 10 people, and there are already 7 bodies. The last 3 people left are fighting for their survival. But obviously, the 3 people have already suffered a lot of injuries, and the difference in strength is not big. Even if the battle is really over, the remaining survivors will inevitably be seriously injured. By then, when he got out of the killing field, he would have no choice but to escape from the guys waiting at the door. he would end up like the strong man. He would be refined into the yellow spring dew and turned into nutrients. Are you sure you want to sign up for the next competition? Once you sign up, your 12-hour rookie protection period will end early. The law enforcement officer looked at Fang Yuan and made a final confirmation. It was not that he had a change of heart and was reluctant to let Fang Yuan die, but that the 12-hour rookie protection period had not yet expired, and he had the responsibility and obligation to do so. Excuse me, please sign me up. Okay. Seeing that Fang Yuan was determined to do so, the law enforcement officer no longer stopped him and went to register with the ID card handed to him by Fang Yuan. Chapter 18 Jade Snake shows off its power. There are no rules for the Hell Killing Ground. As long as 10 people are gathered, the game can begin. Not long after, the law enforcement officer told Fang Yuan that his game had been arranged. You seem to be lucky. Maybe the King of Killing is affirming your courage to participate in the Hell Killing Ground. This time, the strength of the 9 fallen people, except you, is very average. He carefully checked Fang Yuan's situation. He was a 6-year-old kid who had just awakened his martial spirit and had not much experience. It was extremely rare for such a kid to participate in the Hell Killing Ground in this killing city. The law enforcement officer returned the token to Fang Yuan and said calmly, however, it may still be a trouble for you. Sorry to bother you, law enforcement officer. Fang Yuan took the token, and soon, the stage began to call his number. Fang Yuan did not hesitate. After adjusting his state, he prepared to go to the high platform. Hey, kid. The law enforcement officer suddenly said, be careful, don't die. Fang Yuan was slightly stunned and looked at the law enforcement officer in surprise, then showed a youthful smile and waved his left hand. The head of the jade snake poked out from Fang Yuan's sleeve and spit out its snake tongue at the law enforcement officer. The law enforcement officer snorted, turned around and walked towards the stands. He was of course aware of the existence of the jade snake, otherwise he would not have thought that a little brat like Fang Yuan would dare to step onto the killing field. However, it is a bit of a pipe dream to want to wreak havoc on the hell killing field with just a soul beast. Fang Yuan slowly walked onto the killing field. At this moment, the 9 fallen ones were already in place. As soon as he came on the field, Fang Yuan's immature and short body instantly attracted the attention of the other 9 people. Dwarf. Is it a child? The little guy who hasn't been weaned dares to step into the killing city. It seems that he is also a bad embryo. What a tender little baby. I haven't tasted the meat of a little baby for a long time. The noisy laughter continued to come from the stands, and the attention of the 9 fallen people fell on Fang Yuan at the first time. Fang Yuan was silent and ran directly to the edge of the corner of the killing field. This action attracted the mocking laughter of the soul masters in the stands. Run, little brat. If you are late, your uncle will chop you up and eat you. This little brat is not even as thick as my elbow. How did he run here? It should be because there is no Huang Quan Yu, so he has no choice but to come to the hell killing field. The noise in the stands could not affect the battle in the killing field. The moment Fang Yuan moved, the other 9 fallen people also directly activated their martial spirits, staring at the fallen people around them. Perhaps because Fang Yuan looked so weak, the 9 fallen ones didn't pay too much attention to him, but started fighting each other. This made Fang Yuan feel relieved. But Fang Yuan didn't take it lightly. The guys here were all extremely evil and corrupt. It was normal for them to attack each other, betray and fight. These guys didn't seem to take him seriously, but Fang Yuan was sure that as long as there was a chance, they would definitely not mind getting rid of him first. Sharingan. The ink-like eyes suddenly turned into Scarlet 3 Megatama Sharingan. Fang Yuan, who was in the corner, narrowed his eyes and saw through the battle between the 9 people in front of him. To be honest, the battle between the fallen ones was really not that good looking. There was no so-called moves in their collision. Muscle collision, crotch kick, crotch grab, steel needle and sharp blade piercing. But it was this kind of trick that could play the most direct effect in this melee. Even at the beginning, 2 fallen ones were directly put down and chopped into pieces. The fierce battle made Fang Yuan's eyes shine brightly. His Scarlet Sharingan kept turning, and all the scenes of the battle in front of him were deeply imprinted in his mind. Damn bastard, look at me chopping you. A tall fallen man was chopped on the shoulder and kicked in the chest in the melee, and the whole person flew out. He howled, picked up the long sword in his hand, and was about to join the battlefield again. However, just as he was waving the long sword and preparing to sprint, this guy turned around at an extremely distorted angle and chopped the long sword towards Fang Yuan in the corner. Heh. A sneer appeared at the corner of Fang Yuan's mouth. Under the dynamic vision of the Sharingan, this so-called sneak attack was just a joke. The changes in every muscle of this fallen man had already fallen in front of his eyes. Before he turned around completely, Fang Yuan had already seen through everything. Facing the fierce slash of the fallen, Fang Yuan did not panic at all. With the help of his soul power, he jumped lightly and easily avoided the falling long knife. The huge force landed on the ground, shaking the earth. It was obvious that the soul power of this tall fallen was not weak. "You kid." The attacker raised his head in surprise, and a look of surprise and astonishment appeared on his ferocious face. In his expectation, his knife should be able to easily split the boy's body in two, but now it was empty. The fallen raised his head and wanted to lock Fang Yuan's position, but saw a pair of scarlet eyes. The stagnation lasted only a moment, but a green figure took the opportunity to fly out from Fang Yuan's sleeves and rushed straight to the neck of the sneak attacker. The other fallen who were fighting fiercely had not reacted yet, but the tall fallen had already fallen to the ground. The strong body kept twitching, foaming at the mouth, and his face turned cyan and even purple. "He's dead, poisoned." Swish, swish. The jade snake wrapped around the neck of the fallen, wandering around for a while. After confirming that this guy didn't have any soul guides, it flew back to Fang Yuan's arms and landed on his shoulders. The sudden change made the entire killing field quiet down. Whether it was the fallen who were fighting each other or the audience in the stands, they were all a little bit unbelievable. It's a soul beast. This kid actually has a soul beast. Jade snake? Judging from the age, it's a jade snake about 3000 years old. This kid actually. The entire venue erupted, and the audience in the stands let out incredible howls. In the killing field, in addition to Fang Yuan, there were 4 other fallen. The unreserved and bottom line-less fight between the fallen had already caused the deaths of several people in just a dozen seconds. But at this moment, the remaining 4 fallen looked at each other and tacitly stopped their hands, and all their eyes were on Fang Yuan, or rather, on the jade snake. Chapter 19 The First Battle. There are no rules in the hell killing field. Here, whoever can survive to the end is the winner. Therefore, whether it is poisoning or sneak attack, including Fang Yuan's use of soul beasts, it is all allowed by the rules. The intense toxicity of the jade snake made the faces of the fallen on the field change drastically. The threat posed by such a soul beast was completely beyond their expectations. A pair of eyes stared at Fang Yuan. Whether it was the fallen on the field or the audience in the stands, they all reacted at this moment. This young and immature boy is not here to give his head. On the contrary, he is a real hunter. Several fallen looked at each other, without words, but their behavior showed their attitude. Kill. With a low shout, the 4 fallen rushed towards Fang Yuan. The 4 people attacked at the same time, attacking from 4 different directions. 3 of them rushed towards the jade snake together, and the remaining 1 rushed straight to Fang Yuan. Obviously, in their eyes, the reason why Fang Yuan, this stinky boy, dared to step into the hell killing field was because of the jade snake soul beast. As for his own fighting power, what kind of fighting power can a 6-year-old kid who has just awakened his martial spirit have? Exclamation mark. SHHH. Facing the encirclement, the jade snake looked around. The first thing its snake pupils locked onto was not the 3 people who surrounded it, but the fallen one who attacked Fang Yuan. The safety of its master is the first core command. This is the highest command imprinted in its mind. The jade snake shot out, turning into a green light, and pounced on the fallen one who rushed towards Fang Yuan. Stupid. Thunderstep. The fallen one sneered, and a flash of lightning flashed under his feet. The speed of the whole person was suddenly improved, and he easily avoided the jade snake's pounce. Not only that, the fallen one took this opportunity to appear behind the jade snake and landed a palm on the jade snake's body. Although it didn't hit the 7 inches, it still knocked the jade snake away, causing it to struggle on the ground in pain. What a fast speed. Is it a self-created soul skill? I didn't expect that there would be such a strong person among the contestants this time. It's Death Thunder, the Death Thunder with 15 wins in the killing field. It turned out to be him. No wonder he has such a fast speed, but didn't Death Thunder get ambushed by others after winning the last killing field? I didn't expect that he didn't die, and he seems to have become stronger. It's really terrifying. It seems that the winner of this killing field should be him. The speed that the fallen one burst out shocked the audience, and some sharp-eyed people recognized his identity at the first time. Didn't you hit the vital point? Looking at the jade snake that climbed up from the ground and spit out its snake tongue, Death Thunder snorted lightly and decisively distanced himself from Fang Yuan and the other 3 fallen ones. His identity has been exposed, and the other 3 fallen ones will definitely regard him as a thorn in their eyes. As expected, as Death Thunder pulled away, several flying knives suddenly appeared where he was originally. There was a little smelly black and purple liquid on the blades, which was extremely toxic. The situation on the field changed rapidly. The previous moment, there were 4 people besieging Fang Yuan, and the next moment it became 1 on 3. The battle continued. When friendly forces became enemies, and when targets began to increase, the battlefield, which was originally clearly divided into offense and defense, became chaotic again in an instant. However, the 3 fallen ones seemed to have no disagreements. They began to support each other back to back, and aimed completely at Death Thunder and Fang Yuan. Obviously, the 3 of them also understood that both Death Thunder and Fang Yuan, who had a soul beast, were extremely powerful threats. If they could not get rid of these 2 guys first, they would not be able to win. As expected, the power of teamwork is powerful, even if Death Thunder is extremely fast and Jade Snake is extremely toxic. But facing the group of 3 fallen people, for a while, neither Jade Snake nor Death Thunder could attack for a long time, and even began to suffer injuries. The battlefield became more and more chaotic, while Fang Yuan, who was almost ignored in the corner, silently opened the 3 Megatom Sharingan, and took in everything. In the eyes of others, such performance was obviously like a young and weak boy who hoped that his soul beast could win the battle. Ah, is this how you help me watch my back and defend? The alliance between the fallen ones was indeed unprotected. One of the fallen ones was almost bitten by the jade snake. In the face of danger, he immediately picked up the flying knife in his hand and directly killed the teammate who was covering him. Are you crazy? Another teammate was shocked and cursed at the fallen one who was wielding the flying knife. With the help of the 3 of them, they were able to barely fight against the jade snake and the Death Thunder. Now they are actually fighting among themselves. Isn't that courting death? Exclamation mark. Go to hell. Go to hell. I don't need any teammates. Facing his teammates' angry scolding, the flying knife fallen seemed to be crazy, with a crazy face, and he directly attacked his teammates with a flying knife, as if he was crazy. His teammates were horrified and responded hastily. Although Death Thunder on the side didn't know why the flying knife fallen went crazy, the alliance between the fallen collapsed, which was obviously an opportunity for him. Moreover, the 2 fallen on the field fought each other, and the jade snake seemed to have caught an incredible timing, baring its fangs and rushing into the battlefield. Opportunity. Death Thunder's eyes lit up, and a flash of lightning flashed across his body. The speed of the whole person suddenly increased, and it really seemed like thunder, shooting towards Fang Yuan in the corner. But in the blink of an eye, Death Thunder had already rushed in front of Fang Yuan. His face was extremely hideous under the illumination of the lightning, and the nails on the falling big hand were like sharp blades, and the lightning was diffused. Go to hell, stupid boy. Fang Yuan had no expression on his face. He just raised his eyes and looked at Death Thunder. An invisible energy rose and spread under his feet. Although there was no flash of lightning, the rhythm of its energy was exactly the same as that of Death Thunder. Death Thunder's claws swung down, but Fang Yuan's figure flashed in advance, turned into a phantom, and disappeared in an instant. No, he did not disappear, but appeared directly behind Death Thunder. Puff. The bone staff pierced through the body. The slender tip of the pale bone staff easily pierced the heart of Death Thunder. At the same time, on another part of the battlefield, the jade snake also raised its head, coiled on the neck of the fallen man who used the flying knife, and spit out its snake tongue. In the blink of an eye, except for 1 man and 1 beast, there was no other living thing on the entire killing field. The whole scene was dead silent. Chapter 20 The Power of the Martial Spirit. The battle ended too quickly. Almost in the blink of an eye, the battlefield, which was originally in chaos and fighting each other, had come to an end. I thought the final winner should be Death Thunder, who had won more than 10 games in a row, but I didn't expect that the final winner was the little brat with the soul beast. It was abrupt and shocking. In the end, everything turned into cheers. In the killing field of hell, no matter what your identity is, no matter how glorious your past is, as long as you are dead, you are nothing. The winner is the king, or in other words, the survivors are the strongest, the most outstanding, and the most worthy of cheers. Damn little brat, he actually won. Damn, I also want a 3,000-year-old soul beast. That Death Thunder is a soul king of more than 50 levels, but he actually lost to that brat. Sure enough, soul beasts are still too powerful in the killing city. But how did that kid dodge the attack of Death Thunder just now? Some people cheered, and some people were jealous. Some people were also confused, but they were soon covered by the cheers and laughter around them. In the corner, the law enforcement officer with his arms crossed had a gleam in his eyes and looked at Fang Yuan for a long time without saying a word. That was the signature move of Death Thunder, Thunder Step. He was suspicious. Let us congratulate contestant number 7052 for winning this killing field. This is the first time for our contestant number 7052 to participate in the hell killing field, and it is also his first victory. With the words of the host, the game officially came to an end. Fang Yuan called out softly, and the jade snake turned into a green shadow and shrank back into Fang Yuan's sleeves. When Fang Yuan walked off the stage, a woman who looked like the person in charge of the hell killing field soon came over. The woman wore a black veil, had a graceful figure, and her slender waist twisted with endless charm. Sir 7052, your token has been registered. In the next year, you can freely move around in the inner and outer cities of the killing city. Okay. Fang Yuan nodded and walked out of the hell killing field with the jade snake. He did not see the law enforcement officer from before. Obviously, the law enforcement officer was not talking nonsense. As long as he participated in the hell killing field, the 12-hour novice protection period would end, and he would not follow Fang Yuan. Without the law enforcement officer, Fang Yuan felt countless malicious eyes. As soon as he left the hell killing field, Fang Yuan's heart trembled, and without the slightest hesitation, he quickly walked towards the outer city, summoned the jade snake, coiled on his arm, and stared around. Yes, Fang Yuan did not plan to stay in the inner city. Although the inner city has a good environment, not only does it have endless food, free luxurious rooms, but also beauties, casinos, bars and other places for indulgence. But the chaos in the inner city is completely proportional to its prosperity. Compared with the outer city, which is protected by the King of Slaughter and prohibits random killing, the inner city obviously has no protection. Although Fang Yuan is ready to improve himself through countless battles, he also needs a quiet and suitable living environment to relax his body and mind. Therefore, Fang Yuan still chooses to return to the outer city. After all, as long as he has enough yellow spring dew, whether it is the outer city or the inner city, it is actually the same, isn't it? The appearance of the jade snake finally gave Fang Yuan, a seemingly powerless kid, some deterrence. Although those guys with bad intentions coveted Fang Yuan's body, they did not take action due to the threat of the jade snake. They could only watch Fang Yuan leave the inner city. After returning to the desolate and silent outer city, Fang Yuan was relieved. To be honest, he was really a little nervous, fearing that he would be targeted like the previous strong man, the Fallen. Although Fang Yuan was somewhat confident, the 3 Megatama Sharingan, the Jade Snake, and the Wood Escape were all his strengths, and they were also the reason why he dared to participate in the killing field. But he was only a 6-year-old boy after all. If he was really killed or chased by others, Fang Yuan would be panicked. After returning to the outer city, Fang Yuan was obviously much more relaxed and swaggered back to his cave residence. The outer city is blessed by the King of Killing, and killing is prohibited. If someone violates the ban, they will be fined. The fine here is naturally not gold or silver soul coins, but Huan Quan. One violation is a cup of Huan Quan, which is why Fang Yuan took the initiative to hand over a cup of Huan Quan to the law enforcement officer when registering. He knows the rules. Although a cup of Huan Quan seems to be little, it is a life-extending thing for these lingering garbage living in the outer city. They are not enough to extend their own lives, so how can they casually hand it in as a fine? Go and have a rest. You did a great job today. After returning to the cave, Fang Yuan patted the jade snake's head, took out a cup of yellow spring dew from the Ouroboros bracelet, and threw it to it. The jade snake happily wrapped around the yellow spring dew, spitting out its tongue, and making a faint sound. Yellow spring dew can not only be used to recover from injuries, but also to increase soul power, and suppress violent emotions. It has the same effect on soul beasts, and the effect is even better. However, in the past, these guys only helped Emoshen hunt for yellow spring dew, so how could they be qualified to drink it? It didn't expect Fang Yuan to be so generous. This new master is much better than the old master. No, it's much better than that old Emoshen. The jade snake happily wrapped around the yellow spring dew, and left the room. Fang Yuan also restrained the smile on his face, and summarized his current situation. To be honest, everything in today's hell-killing field is under his control, whether it is winning the final victory, or reading the battle data of those fallen ones. Yes. The reason why Fang Yuan was so anxious to participate in the hell-killing field was not to die, but to obtain combat data. Or, combat experience. To be honest, the term combat experience is too far away for an ordinary person like Fang Yuan who lives in a peaceful era, and has no extraordinary power. Before today, Fang Yuan had no combat experience, not to mention fighting experience. However, today's hell-killing field made Fang Yuan feel a brand new world. To be honest, today's battle was not long, and the process of Fang Yuan really doing it himself might only be a few seconds, to solve the so-called Death Thunder. However, under the insight and copying power of the Sharingan, Fang Yuan was transformed. The scenes of the fallen one's actions were like a movie projector, constantly replaying in Fang Yuan's mind, and being analyzed frame by frame, until Fang Yuan understood, and learned it. Fight. And how to use the most deadly tricks in the shortest time to defeat the enemy. Chapter 21 Beastmaster Fang Yuan. As the saying goes, you can't get fat in one bite, and it's hard to reach the sky in one step, but this truth is so powerless for Fang Yuan who has the Sharingan. The powerful insight of the Sharingan can not only easily see through the moves of those guys, but also copy them, and use them perfectly for oneself. Those guys spent more than 10 years, or even decades, accumulating combat experience and combat skills, but as long as Fang Yuan saw it once, he would master it. Your skills are indeed very good, but now they are mine. However, Fang Yuan did not swell up. Although these skills are good, they are foreign after all, not his own personal experience. Although he can imitate them exactly, if he can't integrate them with his own situation, it will only be a form without spirit and empty appearance. Gusumirang Fu's Daozu and crossing Yui has long been superb, but the final outcome is defeat after defeat and madness. The reason is that Mirang Fu only copied, but did not surpass. But if Fang Yuan can fully understand the principles of those moves, integrate them, learn from one, and apply them to other situations, and know 10 things by hearing one, then, at that time, it will be the real power that belongs to Fang Yuan alone. For example, the Thunder Step of Death Thunder. The principle of Thunder Step is very simple, which is to use one's own Thunder attribute soul power to stimulate the leg muscles, so as to greatly increase one's speed in a short period of time. Fang Yuan's own soul power does not come with lightning. If he directly uses soul power to stimulate muscles, even if he can do the same operation, the effect will definitely be greatly reduced. Otherwise, what will appear in the killing field should be a collision of speed and speed, rather than using negligence and timing to complete the kill. Fang Yuan comprehended the skills learned in the killing field. After learning almost everything, he began to close his eyes and began to meditate and practice. Combat skills need to be improved, and the soul power level cannot be left behind. His current soul power level has reached level 14, and it has increased by 2 levels in a month. This speed is obviously somewhat amazing. Of course, this is obviously not the result of Fang Yuan's efforts, but the effect of taking Huan Quandu many times to heal his wounds when he was imprisoned by Emoshen. It is true that Huan Quandu can improve soul power, but Fang Yuan, as a time traveler, knows the harm of Huan Quandu. If you take Huan Quandu for a long time, you will become addicted, and you may become a puppet of the killing city and lose your will. Fang Yuan didn't want to become that kind of addict. He relied on himself for everything. This was his creed. Let us congratulate contestant number 7052 for winning the killing field. This is his 15th victory, the host on the high platform said, and the killing on the field also came to an end. Fang Yuan stood in the center of the killing field. On both sides of him, the exploding gorilla and the jade snake were like left and right protectors, standing on both sides of him. The exploding gorilla's breath was a little messy, with many injuries on his body, and one of his elbows was drooping, obviously interrupted in the previous battle. The jade snake was in good condition. It coiled around Fang Yuan's shoulder and spit out its tongue. Beast tamer. Beast tamer. Beast tamer. The audience cheered and gave their own cheers to the young man on the killing field. A year had passed since Fang Yuan's first competition. During this year, Fang Yuan had not been curled up in the outer city and practiced his soul power behind closed doors. He had not been soaking in the hell killing field all day long. He was a combination of both. For Fang Yuan, the hell killing field was like Baidu encyclopedia. When he encountered obstacles on the road of practice, or when he had achieved staged success and was about to move on to the next stage, he would come here to gain experience. But even so, Fang Yuan had participated in the hell killing field 15 times this year and won all of them, and at the same time, created the name of Beast Tamer for himself. There was no other way. After all, Fang Yuan was the only one in the entire killing city who brought 2 soul beasts to the killing field. Yes. In order to win the killing field more safely, Fang Yuan called the exploding orangutan, who was originally the home, to come and compete together. Anyway, all his valuable things are in the Ouroboros bracelet, and the so-called home is actually just an empty cave. Respected 7052 Fallen, this is your trophy. Compared with when he came here a year ago, Fang Yuan's body now began to carry a faint bloody smell, but his eyes were still clear and not affected too much. Seeing Fang Yuan coming down, the management staff quickly brought a cup of special Huang Quan. Special Huang Quan is a concentrated version of Huang Quan. Fallen who have won 10 consecutive victories in the killing field can get a cup as a reward after each win. This kind of Huang Quan has better effects, but at the same time, it is more addictive. Fang Yuan nodded, put it into the Ouroboros bracelet, and walked towards the outside world. For a year, he still lived in the outer city. Although the inner city is full of temptations, and is even open to those who gallop on the killing field for free, providing various services, Fang Yuan does not feel much. Although the killing city is a city of desire, its so-called desire is nothing more than eating, drinking and having fun. Fang Yuan has no worries about food and drink. As for having fun, a teenager who hasn't even grown all his hair, do you expect him to have any interest in the fun in the killing city? Although Fang Yuan, who is 7 years old, has begun to grow gradually, he is not an evil fire chicken, and he will feel uncomfortable if he doesn't vent for a day. Fang Yuan, who left the hell killing field and was about to return to the outer city, suddenly paused and his expression changed slightly. He keenly noticed that someone was following him, and that person's soul power was very strong, at least stronger than his. Is it someone in the audience? Is it someone in the audience? Is he aware of the injury of the exploding gorilla and thinking that my combat power is damaged, so he is targeting me? Fang Yuan guessed in his heart. He did not hide in the alleys or corners, nor did he think of getting rid of that guy. If he only brought the jade snake, it would be fine, but the exploding ape was too obvious, and the target was too conspicuous, so the chance of hiding was slim, not to mention getting rid of him. In the past year, he was actually targeted many times, and he also killed many guys, and his reputation as a beastmaster was also known, but there were still many people who thought that his soul beast would be greatly weakened after being injured in the killing field, and came to pick up the leaks. Fang Yuan naturally would not be polite to the yellow spring dew that was delivered to his door. Although he himself did not drink it, it was a good choice, whether it was used as a trading currency or for his 2 soul beasts. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 22 Invitation. Fang Yuan continued to walk towards the outer city, and at the same time, he was ready to fight in his heart, ready to deal with the upcoming danger at any time. It can be said that every time he stepped into the inner city, what gave Fang Yuan the most headache was not the battle on the killing field, but the situation he had to face after the battle on the killing field. These guys in the killing city have almost no bottom line in doing things, and their sneak attack methods are unimaginable. What they like most is to take advantage of others. I don't know how many fallen people died tragically before they had time to enjoy a year of joy after winning the victory in the killing field. However, surprisingly, those guys did not rush to take action, but followed Fang Yuan all the way into the outer city. This surprised Fang Yuan a little. The outer city prohibits fallen people from moving inside, and once they violate the rules, they will be fined. Huang Quandu is as precious as the root of life for these sneak attackers, but these guys followed all the way to the outer city. Law enforcement officer? Looking at the figure that appeared in front of him, Fang Yuan was a little surprised. The people who appeared in front of Fang Yuan at this moment were not some fallen people who wanted to attack Fang Yuan, but two law enforcement officers. The most important thing is that Fang Yuan knew these two guys. The visitors were a man and a woman. The man was wrapped in black armor, making it difficult to see his appearance, but Fang Yuan recognized his aura. He was the law enforcement officer who took him to the killing field of hell a year ago. The law enforcement officer's appearance did not seem to have changed much, but his aura became a little stronger, and the murderous aura on his body also increased. Obviously, in a year, the strength of this law enforcement officer has obviously become stronger. Compared with the law enforcement officer with a strong aura, the woman next to him is much more immature. Although she is called a woman, she is more like a 13 or 14-year-old girl. The girl has a delicate body and white skin, especially against the background of a black veil. It looks even whiter. Wearing a black gothic black veil long skirt, although her face is still a little immature, it gives people an extremely special taste. And I don't know why, Fang Yuan always feels that this girl is a little familiar. This girl seems to be the future killing messenger! Fang Yuan was a little dazed. The girl in front of him gradually overlapped with the killing messenger in his memory who was as charming as a poppy flower. There was really a bit of similarity. Number 7052, long time no see. The law enforcement officer looked at Fang Yuan with some emotion. In 1 year, you have achieved 15 consecutive victories, which is extremely rare in the entire killing city. And you are only 7 years old. There is no doubt that you are a genius. A year ago, he thought Fang Yuan was just a person who liked a superior living environment and came to the hell killing field to fight. But in the past year, Fang Yuan has never lived in the inner city. On weekdays, he basically practiced at home. Except for fighting in the hell killing field, he hardly went anywhere. Such a special little guy really made the law enforcement officer say that he had misjudged him. At the same time, it also aroused his curiosity and interest. He began to pay attention to this kid and began to observe and understand Fang Yuan. Almost photographic memory. Learning ability to understand after seeing it once and understanding it at once. Always calm on the battlefield, knowing when to advance and retreat, always putting his own safety first, and being able to grasp the most perfect opportunity with a calm mind. The more he understood, the more surprised the law enforcement officer was. Everything this little boy showed made the law enforcement officer amazed. This child's talent far exceeded his imagination. He had seen countless geniuses and monsters in the city of slaughter for so many years, but few could compare with him. He was moved, a heart that loved talent. I came here this time because I need to discuss something with you. 0752. The law enforcement officer's attitude surprised Fang Yuan. These guys who looked like robots would actually use the word discuss. Fang Yuan nodded gently. There was no contradiction between him and the law enforcement officer, and the law enforcement officer represented the official of the city of slaughter. If the official wanted to discuss, he would naturally not give face. Please go on. Fang Yuan's gentle and humble attitude made the law enforcement officer nodded with satisfaction. He looked at the girl beside him. The girl in a gothic black gauze dress looked at Fang Yuan with a hint of curiosity in her eyes. She whispered, "Your talent has been recognized by the great king of slaughter. The Great King hopes that you can join the Slaughter City and become a member of the Slaughter City. Join the Slaughter City? Fang Yuan's brows trembled. He didn't expect that the law enforcement officer and the slaughter messenger would find him for this matter. Although it is rare to recruit others to become official members of the Slaughter City, it actually appeared in the original plot. That was when Sun Jie won the 68th victory in the Hell-Killing Field. The slaughter messenger began to propose that he wanted to win over Sun Jie, but was eventually rejected by the King of Slaughter because of the existence of Tang Heo, the god of killing. And now, Fang Yuan was actually invited. You know, now he has only won 15 games in the Hell-Killing Field. 15 victories were not considered many in the Slaughter City. Many fallen ones could do this. Moreover, Fang Yuan's performance in the slaughter field was not outstanding. In the eyes of outsiders, Fang Yuan basically relied on the strength of soul beasts to win. In addition, Fang Yuan was only 7 years old. He was definitely the youngest fallen one in the entire Slaughter City. But under such circumstances, Fang Yuan was actually invited. Perhaps you don't know what this means. Please allow me to introduce it to you. The killing messenger looked at Fang Yuan, who had been silent for a long time, and said softly, as long as you join the Killing City and become a member of the Killing City, your identity will change dramatically. In the future, you will no longer need to fight in the Hell-Killing Field to maintain your survival time, and you will not be restricted by the Killing City, and you can use your soul skills normally. You will have the right to manage the order of the Killing City, and you will also receive a cup of special Huangquanyu as a reward every month, and you will even have the opportunity to receive the blessing of the King of Killing. The killing messenger talked about the treatment. When she mentioned the King of Killing, her eyes were filled with obvious fanaticism, and her eyes flashed with a deep red bloody killing light, as moving as a ruby. She had just become a killing messenger not long ago. Although she had not yet felt the blessing and baptism of the King of Killing, her heart was full of yearning and reverence for it. In her opinion, joining the Slaughter City is the supreme honor for all the fallen, and there is absolutely no reason for 7052, the little brother, to refuse. I hope everyone will speak more in the comment section. Even if you don't discuss the development of the plot, it's good to brag. Chapter 23, Joining the Killing City. The conditions offered by the slaughter envoy were extremely tempting. But for Fang Yuan, they seemed very ordinary. The Hell-Killing Field that ordinary people avoided was just a whetstone for Fang Yuan when he encountered a bottleneck or got stuck in practicing combat skills. The opening of the soul skill restrictions did not mean much to Fang Yuan, who only had one mental shock. As for the reward of the special grade yellow spring dew, Fang Yuan's Ouroboros bracelet was full of yellow spring dew. The only interesting thing was perhaps the identity of official staff of the Slaughter City. Although this identity could not guarantee Fang Yuan's safety 100%. After all, in the Slaughter City, strength was king. But for those rubbish degenerates who always like to make trouble and pick up leaks, this identity was still a little useful. But, excuse me, if I join the Slaughter City, can I enter and exit the Slaughter City freely? Fang Yuan suddenly raised his head and asked. Free access to and from the Slaughter City? As soon as these words came out, both the law enforcement officer and the slaughter messenger were stunned, but they quickly reacted. They had investigated Fang Yuan. This kid was different from other fallen people in the Slaughter City. Most of the fallen people in the Slaughter City were forced to enter because they were hunted by the Spirit Hall or the two empires of Xiandao and Xingluo. But Fang Yuan was not like that. According to their intelligence investigation, Fang Yuan was forcibly abducted by the original fallen person number 7052, that is, Imo Shen. This boy did not run to the Slaughter City because he could not live in the outside world. On the contrary, this boy's heart was filled with desire for the outside world. Looking at Fang Yuan with a hopeful look, the slaughter messenger didn't know how to speak for a moment. Although the staff of the Slaughter City are official internal personnel and have some privileges in the Slaughter City, but in terms of freedom and authority, they are actually the same as those ordinary fallen people. That is, they cannot leave the Slaughter City. This is the rule that has been set since the creation of the Killing City. Except for those who have the title of God of Killing, no one is allowed to leave the Killing City once they enter. This restriction is not just a casual statement. It is not only the order of the King of Killing, but also the will of the entire Killing City. I'm sorry, The killing messenger shook his head. According to the rules of the killing city, if you want to leave the killing city, you must win 100 games in the hell killing field and achieve the title of God of Killing. Otherwise, you can't. Actually, there is a way. The law enforcement officer on the side suddenly spoke up and interrupted the killing messenger's words. Fang Yuan showed curiosity. Is there really a way? Because of the special environment of Slaughter City, the entire capital cannot manufacture its own means of production. In order to maintain the expenses of the fallen in Slaughter City will exchange materials with the outside world every year. The so-called outside world is actually the two empires of Sharingan and Douluo, and of course, the Spirit Hall. This responsibility is usually done by the captain of our law enforcement team, the Slaughter Knight 7052. As long as you join our Slaughter City and can replace our captain, you can get the right to enter and exit Slaughter City. Fang Yuan's eyes were shining, and the Slaughter envoy on the side opened her mouth wide and was also shocked by the words of the law enforcement officer. Although she also knew that the law enforcement officer said this in order to pull Fang Yuan into the group. It was really too outrageous. Maybe Fang Yuan didn't know, but as the messenger of the King of Slaughter, how could she not know? The strength of the captain of the law enforcement team, the Slaughter Knight, is the pinnacle of Soul Masters, the legendary title Douluo. In the entire Slaughter City, besides the Slaughter King, who else dares to say that he can rival the Slaughter Knight? And replace the Slaughter Knight. To be honest, in the eyes of the Slaughter Messenger, if you want to replace the Slaughter Knight, it might be easier than winning 100 slaughter fields and passing the Hell Road to get the God of Slaughter. The Slaughter Messenger opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but when he saw Fang Yuan's face full of excitement, he immediately closed his mouth. No more BB, let's get people to join the group first. 7052, what do you think? Fang Yuan was silent for a long time, as if he was thinking about the pros and cons. The hesitant look made the Slaughter Messenger on the side unhappy. Becoming a warrior under the Slaughter King is the supreme honor. How many fallen people fight for this opportunity, but it just fell from the sky and landed on you. You are still hesitating? It's so rude. Okay. Fang Yuan nodded. I'm willing to join the killing city. Very good. The law enforcement officer showed a satisfied look, and the killing envoy snorted, his delicate face full of "You are smart." The white bracelet flashed with a faint light, and a set of black uniforms appeared in the hands of the killing envoy. This is your clothes. In addition, your token will be updated. From now on, you don't need to participate in the life and death battle in the hell killing field. Fang Yuan took the uniform. The uniform is all black, feels good, and is very tough. After putting the uniform into the Ouroboros bracelet, Fang Yuan showed curiosity and asked, "Two seniors, can our staff participate in the hell killing field?" The law enforcement officer and the killing envoy were both stunned, looking at each other, a little confused. No, what is in your head? That is the hell killing field, not some fighting spirit field outside. Once there is a mistake, it is a matter of life and death. We are all official personnel. Why are we still thinking about the hell killing field? The killing envoy obviously didn't understand what Fang Yuan was thinking, but since Fang Yuan asked, she would naturally give an answer. The killing city is based on killing, so naturally everyone can participate in the killing field. We staff members just don't need to participate, not that we can't participate. Why? 7052, are you still going to participate in the hell killing field? So that's it. Fang Yuan showed a look of realization and nodded. The killing envoy snorted. Confidence is a good thing, but arrogance is a bit stupid. She also admitted Fang Yuan's talent. He was able to achieve this level at such a young age. This aptitude is indeed outstanding. However, before growing up, talent is always just talent, and genius is always just genius, not a strong person. There is no shortage of geniuses in the killing city. Before entering the killing city, these fallen people were also the top geniuses of major sects and families. And here, they are just a mobile blood bank that provides Huang Quandu. Chapter 24 What he wants. Joining the killing city and becoming a formal employee of the killing city did not have much impact on Fang Yuan's life. The employees of the killing city did not have too much work pressure, and Fang Yuan was too young and weak, so it was not his turn to do those difficult tasks. Therefore, Fang Yuan's life did not change. However, his residence was officially moved from the broken cave in the outer city to the inner city. Well, it was right next to the hell killing field, which was convenient for Fang Yuan to enter and exit the hell field. As a member of the law enforcement officers, Fang Yuan no longer had to worry about being attacked. Although there were precedents of law enforcement officers being killed by the fallen, they were a minority after all. Without the risk of safety, Fang Yuan would naturally not continue to make things difficult for himself. There was a good life to enjoy, so why should he shrink in that broken cave? Life continued, studying combat skills and honing one's own skills. From time to time, he ran to the killing field, took the Sharingan to copy, and increased his own means of attack. When he wanted to test his own strength, he went to participate in a killing field. His life was very enjoyable. It is worth mentioning that Fang Yuan's level has reached level 20 early in his continuous cultivation. However, because there are no soul beasts in the slaughter city, he has not been able to obtain soul rings and can only be stuck at level 20, unable to go any further. However, although the level is restricted, Fang Yuan's strength is still steadily improving. And the soul power he has cultivated is basically accumulated in his body, waiting for him to obtain soul rings and release them together. Hey, 7052, there is a new task. The Hell Messenger looked at Fang Yuan, who was meditating cross-legged, and handed over the task order in his hand. A lot of newcomers have come to Huangsha Town. You go and lead them. Fang Yuan slowly opened his eyes and came out of his cultivation state. He glanced at the mission regulations. Aren't you usually the one who does this kind of mission? Well, let me do it today. This is the king's intention. The killing messenger snorted. Besides, your job as a law enforcement officer is too leisurely. You spend all day eating and sleeping. When you have nothing to do, you go to the killing field to watch the show. It's time to move. Fang Yuan's mouth twitched slightly. It seemed that he saw that he was too idle and wanted to find something for himself to do. I'm too lazy to go to the hell killing ground, so I can do my own tasks. Besides, I have to go to the hell killing ground later. Hell killing ground. The killing messenger frowned slightly, and his voice was slightly raised. Didn't you participate yesterday? Do you have to participate today? Yeah. Fang Yuan shrugged disapprovingly. Yes, and didn't you also say that I have too much leisure time, except eating and sleeping every day, so I thought about seizing the hell killing ground for fun. Anyway, I'm free anyway. So you would rather risk your life to go to the hell killing ground than to do the task for me, right? Exclamation mark. The killing messenger snorted coldly, looking at Fang Yuan, who closed his eyes again, and he was so angry that he held his magnificent hands and left Fang Yuan's residence angrily. Looking at the killing messenger's leaving figure, Fang Yuan snorted lightly and continued to cross his legs in meditation. Instead, the slaughter messenger who left Fang Yuan's residence did not go to the so-called Huangsha town to perform the mission, but came to a dark and spacious room deep in the slaughter city. It was an extremely huge chair, inlaid with blue and purple crystals. These crystals outlined a drum tower shape. Except for this chair, everything here was dark red, which looked extremely depressing. King 7052 decided to continue to participate in the hell killing field. The slaughter messenger half knelt on the ground and reported softly. Moreover, his whole state is extremely relaxed, as if he is not affected by the murderer Sora at all. He has played more than 60 games. A tall figure sat on the giant chair. Because of the darkness around him, he could not see his appearance clearly. He could only vaguely see that this person was thin and tall, and his aura was terrifying. It's the 68th time. It was fine some time ago. In the past 6 months, 7052 has been to the killing ground almost every week. At this frequency, he seems to be completely unaffected by the killing aura. Didn't he drink the yellow spring dew? Asked the tall man sitting on the chair. Yellow spring dew? The killing messenger was slightly stunned. Suddenly, a picture of Fang Yuan using yellow spring dew to feed his jade snake and exploding orangutan every day appeared in his mind. The corners of his mouth twitched. If other fallen people knew that the yellow spring dew, which they regarded as a treasure and exchanged their lives for, was just food for Fang Yuan's pets, they would probably faint on the spot. From my observation, He almost never drinks the yellow spring dew, not even the special grade yellow spring dew. The killing envoy paused and said, "King, I suspect that the reason why 7052 can suppress the murderer Sora is probably related to his martial spirit, or there is a high-level soul bone in his body, and it is very likely the head soul bone. The spiritual head soul bone can indeed suppress the erosion of murderer Sora on one's will. Fang Yuan is not very old, and his soul strength is not high. Even if his martial spirit really has a certain restraining effect on murderer Sora, it is definitely not so immune. You know, even a titled Douluo cannot resist the corrosion of murderer Sora." The King of Slaughter was silent for a moment. "In your opinion, can he complete 100 victories and challenge the Hell Road? 7052's fighting skills are really too terrifying. His photographic memory has enabled him to absorb the fighting skills of countless fallen people." The killing envoy thought. During this period, every battle he fought in the killing field was as graceful as dancing. His fighting style was like an art. Even the Lord of Slaughter Knight may not be his opponent without using soul skills. So, King, I can be sure that it is only a matter of time for 7052 to complete 100 battles, but he may not be able to walk through the Hell Road. The monsters in the Hell Road cannot be defeated by fighting skills alone. To deal with that guy, not only fighting skills are needed, but also real strength, soul power, and level. What is he longing for? The King of Slaughter was silent for a long time, and suddenly spoke. The killing envoy was slightly stunned. She had been in contact with Fang Yuan for a long time. To be honest, she really didn't know what Fang Yuan longed for. Wealth? That guy doesn't like money, and has no interest in gold and silver. He would even throw away the gold soul coins that he seized on weekdays because he would cause the soul guide space to be occupied. Beauty? The young boy has already developed initially, but he doesn't seem to be interested in beauty. On weekdays, he would just flirt with her verbally at most, and occasionally make a move on her. He seems to be completely indifferent to other women. Thinking about it carefully, it seems that Fang Yuan only wants strength. Wait. The eyes of the killing messenger lit up, and a picture suddenly appeared in her mind. It was the scene when Fang Yuan had just joined them in the past and asked them questions. Great King, if 7052 is eager for, maybe it's the outside world. Chapter 25, Changes in the Martial Soul. Not affected by murderer Sora, not drinking the yellow spring dew, his heart is filled with desire and yearning for the outside world. Gentle personality, humble attitude, and unlimited potential. Is such a guy supposed to appear in the City of Slaughter? Facing Fang Yuan, the King of Slaughter felt a headache for the first time. Let him complete 100 victories and challenge the Hell Road? No. On the prophecy wall of the City of Slaughter, there is a teaching that has been imprinted in the hearts of the Kings of Slaughter of all generations. That is, every time a god of slaughter appears, there will be a major crisis that endangers the foundation of the City of Slaughter. The god of slaughter descends, and a hell disaster. In the previous few times, almost every time the god of slaughter appeared, the City of Slaughter was turned upside down, causing heavy damage to the City of Slaughter. Although, in the eyes of the King of Slaughter, even if Fang Yuan won 100 victories, he did not have the strength to challenge the Hell Road. But it is better to be safe than sorry. What if that kid really passed the Hell Road? Exclamation mark. Does that mean that he should be killed directly? The eyes of the King of Slaughter were dim. With his strength, it was just a piece of cake for him to get rid of Fang Yuan. But although he could do so, he could do it. However, this seemed a little against the rules. In the past few years, Fang Yuan had never done anything that would harm the interests of the Slaughter City. Although he was a little casual, he completed every task very well. His gentle personality and attitude, coupled with his continuous winning streak in the killing field, and his means of perfectly winning every time. All of this made Fang Yuan have an extremely loud reputation among those law enforcement officers in the Fallen. If he directly solved Fang Yuan without distinguishing right from wrong, he would definitely be criticized by the people who took him down. Even if he didn't care about his reputation, the entire Slaughter City was under his powerful rule and would not be in chaos. But, from the intelligence obtained, it seems that Fang Yuan's kid is still a member of the Spirit Hall. Not the kind of fugitives of the Spirit Hall, but a real person on the record of the Spirit Hall. Under normal circumstances, a missing guy would be defined as dead by the spirit hall in a short time, but this kid was not like that. He had been in the Slaughter City for several years, but according to the information obtained by the King of Slaughter, this kid's name was still hanging in the Spirit Hall. The King of Slaughter had a deep memory of the Spirit Hall. A few years ago, a killing god from the Spirit Hall appeared in the Slaughter City. The killing god's methods were extremely cruel. He killed a large number of fallen people in the Slaughter City, and brought him a lot of trouble. And now, the killing god has even reached the most noble position in the world. Although he has confirmed Fang Yuan's identity countless times, just an ordinary kid from a remote rural area, the King of Slaughter still has some concerns in his heart. What if this kid is related to the killing god? Again, it's better to be safe than sorry. You know, the killing god can return to the Slaughter City at any time. In the domain of the killing god, any soul master in the Slaughter City can restore the use of his own soul skills. Once this happens, it will be an absolute devastating disaster for the city of Slaughter. He dared not gamble, because that kind of loss is really too big. King, what should we do? The Slaughter messenger asked in a low voice. With a bloody look in his eyes, the King of Slaughter fell into deep thought. He suddenly realized that a little guy who was brought in because of the temporary interest of a law enforcement officer under his command would be so troublesome. It was as if the murderer Sora was entrenched around him. Even if the title Douluo was infected, he would definitely be corroded by it and sink into the killing. Feeling this power, the King of Slaughter was silent for a long time and finally spoke faintly. Wait a little longer. Time was spent in waiting and practicing, and Fang Yuan was still as leisurely as before. Sitting cross-legged in his own house, Fang Yuan meditated quietly and tempered his own soul power. He looked leisurely, but when he finished practicing, the scarlet Sharingan was filled with unspeakable coldness and murderous intent. It has been 4 or 5 years since he came to the killing city, and his life has not changed much. However, he is only one game away from the title of the Hell Killing Field Champion. In fact, he had completed 99 challenges a few months ago. The reason why he did not take on the last one was purely because he felt that his martial spirit seemed to have changed a little. In the past few years, Fang Yuan has fought 99 hell killing fields. In addition, as a law enforcement officer, he needs to enforce the law on weekdays. The number of fallen people who died in his hands is unimaginable, at least nearly 10,000. Although those guys are evil and fallen people who deserve to die, killing is killing. Every time Fang Yuan swings the butcher knife, the murderer Sora on his body will flourish. At the beginning, Fang Yuan was still a little worried. After all, the murderer Sora of the killing city is one of the power differentiations of the Shura god. This is a manifestation of the power of the gods. Even the title Douluo cannot resist the erosion of the murderer Sora. After ordinary people kill more than 100 people here, the accumulated murderer Sora will begin to affect their minds, and in order to stabilize their bodies and minds, they must take Huan Quandu to suppress the madness in their hearts. But Huan Quandu is a crazy poison. It is effective in a short period of time, but once the number of people killed exceeds a limit, it is the time for the poison to die and be completely swallowed by the murderer Sora. In the original work, the grown-up Senki almost collapsed after killing thousands of people, and his situation would be even worse. But when it came to Fang Yuan, it was not the case at all. The murderer Sora on him stopped increasing when the number of people he killed reached 100. In other words, all the increased murderer Sora was absorbed by the Sharingan. Yes. When Fang Yuan killed more than 100 people and the murderer Sora was about to affect his mind, his Sharingan was like a water pump, constantly pumping out all the murderer Sora. At the beginning, Fang Yuan was still worried about whether there would be some problems with his Sharingan. But no matter how he tested it, after the murderer Sora was absorbed by the Sharingan, it seemed to disappear out of thin air, and it just disappeared. His eyes didn't seem to change at all. Although this situation made Fang Yuan feel a little uneasy, without the murderer Sora, Fang Yuan's mind and will would not be affected, so Fang Yuan was still laughing and joking on weekdays, as if nothing had happened. However, just after he finished the 99th hell killing field, Fang Yuan suddenly realized that his Sharingan seemed to have changed a little. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.